Ladies and gentlemen, this is your main event of the evening. Introducing first, from Bahasa Uptown, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, weighing in at one Malaysian flag. He is your fellow Uptown lowlife, Cornelius. Low. Thank you. You should die. Oh, what's this? Everyone, just. Thank you for shushing very quickly. And of course. And his tag team partner or opponent, we'll see, I suppose. Representing Digital Era Entertainment. Weighing in at one pro wrestling visual novel game. He is Mario Bueno! Mario, come. Speak. What do you want to say to our guests, to our viewers?
I'm so sorry. I was taking in the adoration of our virtual crowd here. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming on by, and Cornelius, thank you for having me on. I'm really looking forward to our chat today. I've been having a lot of fun checking out all of the streams that you and the other members of VEP have been checking out. Also, by the way, I don't know if it's my end or yours, but I'm hearing an echo in my headset. Is there anything going on your
echo.
side, or is it that I've got a duplicate source going on?
That might be possible. Is it from me or from you?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
So when I'm speaking, so who has the echo? You or me? I mean, is it like a?
I'm hearing an echo of what I presume is on stream.
Is it perhaps from the screen share that I'm providing to you, or is it from or is it from the video ninja?
I wonder if that might be it, actually.
Yeah. Okay, so folks, so to those who are not aware, folks, I'll just give the lowdown, as it were.
Nice. We're gonna be super punny today, let me tell you.
I'm good for that, I suppose. So, to those who are not aware, my name is Cornelius, a professional wrestler turned Butler VTuber at your service. And yes, indeed, folks, I am an IRL professional wrestler. Just to give a very, very quick demo of what that is. Let me see. I'll show this one super quickly. Here's a quick montage of me actually doing the things over the years. I've wrestled in Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines, Perth at one point, of all places. Yes. You cannot hear me, really? I thought I was. Okay, there we are. Is that better? Am I seriously not loud? I thought I'm pretty audible. Okay, anyways, but you can hear me clearly, right, Mario?
I can hear you clearly, yes, and I'm definitely wondering what it is, because I've tried muting the feed that you're giving me over in our chat, and I'm still hearing the duplicate audio. So yeah, not sure what's going on there, because I don't have any other instances of our wonderful interview over on the YouTube pulled up. So
yeah, my voice is your voice is very slow. My audio is on max. Are you sure? Because I'm can anyone else help me verify? Because I'm very certain I'm actually Oh, hold on. Wait. Hold on. Let me just check here. I have a feeling. No, I'm on the correct audio source. That silences. I can hear Cornelius fine. I'm sorry, no, I believe this is a you situation here. So yeah, it can't be helped. So yes, folks. And also besides being an IRL wrestler, I also do the VTubing as well, and I combine the two things together in a very hodgepodge sort of a way. So for a little context here, folks, I actually streamed a preview build of KOKORO no Pro, a pro wrestling visual novel game, last, what was it, Thursday? Or something like that. And this is and this is a part of a VTuber, the VTuber endorsement program by Project by Project Orbit. So they've gotten the boss, Zisan, is actually found KOKORO no Pro before me of all things, actually, on Twitter. So I was kind of shocked that he actually found it before me. I don't know what happened about FYP. Maybe it's got overloaded with smarky nonsense or something like that.
To his credit, Zisan has been absolutely on point. So he has been absolutely wonderful to work with. So shout out to Zisan. I know I saw Zisan in the chat there. Thank you, friend. This has been amazing.
Indeed. So essentially, I've been what's the word I'm looking for? So I actually checked out. So we had this whole plan basically, where a bunch of us in VEP streaming KOKORO no Pro, and of course yours lowly. Of course he has to do it. Of course he has to be the one to really go in depth on it and stuff. And it's been really fascinating to check out this game that clearly was made by people who love professional wrestling. And we also decided that it makes perfect sense for me to interview one of the game devs here to find out a little bit more about KOKORO no Pro, a little bit more on how this all got started, and what needs to be done to get this game, which is I believe right now in Kickstarter mode, I suppose, and how to turn this into a full-fledged game. So I'll just say right now, folks, if you wish to support KOKORO no Pro, I have in the pinned message on my chat the link to their Kickstarter, so you can go and check that out for more further details. And obviously, you can come and into this stream, and obviously you can continue listening to the stream to find out a little bit more. So let's see what we have in store for us on this day, folks. So besides my little chat here with Mario, I am also going to we're also going to check out the KOKORO no Pro trailer. So let me pull that up really quickly. Let's see now. Actually, before that, Mario, could you perhaps introduce yourself? What does and what is KOKORO no Pro, and what digital era media is?
Sure thing. So Digital Era Entertainment is a production brand of mine that was founded in 2003. We have traditionally specialized in video content, mostly centered around nerd culture. Our three pillars have become anime, gaming, and professional wrestling. We have a streaming channel over on Twitch. While we started on the YouTube platform with short and long form narrative content, we have branched out into streaming. At one point, we were streaming 7 days a week. We do stream most days of the week still, mostly podcast content as well as some game streaming content. And this is our first foray into the world of gaming. For me personally, I am a content creator originally from New York City, born and raised, spent most of my life there, and I am now living out in the greater Los Angeles area. I lived here just over 10 years ago before going back to New York for an unreleased Digital Era Entertainment project that unfortunately had to be shelved quietly. But I have been back out here for the past 2 years. So for all intents and purposes, my heart and my foundation is in New York, but my body is in Los Angeles.
I see. That is quite a feat indeed. I'm from someone in a much smaller country, so to go from the East Coast all the way to the other side of the country, the West Coast. Oh my goodness. Actually, you.
And the game's original creator, RJ Parra, who is here in the chat, by the way. So everyone say hi to RJ over in the chat. He points out to our what has become our secret fourth pillar. And that is VTubers. We have a lot of VTuber related content. I'll be happy to circle back to that later in our conversation because it does kind of tie into a few of the things we will be talking about over here in our chat.
Awesome. If you don't mind, could you drop the link to Digital Era Media's Twitch channel? Then I can just drop in the chat real quick.
Sure thing.
In the meantime, I'm going to switch the screen to KOKORO Pro, and we will check out real soon. But let me just grab the link of it really quickly.
So let me see if it requires the www.
Are you dropping in my chat?
Oh, in the live chat. Did you want it in this one? Because it doesn't seem to be coming up as a link.
No, it won't. So you have to drop in our private chat.
I got you. I got you. Let me just throw that here.
This doesn't kind of scuff, folks. This doesn't kind of scuff.
I mean, to be fair, we're talking VTubers. That is part of the experience.
The experience, indeed. Some would call it a certain B word in the wrestling world, but we're not gonna get into that too much. I think. I hope. We have a comment here that says, I remember seeing your tweets from the recent WrestlerTuber events that took place. You participated a little bit in that, I suppose. Mario?
Pardon?
No. One of our viewers mentioned. I remember seeing your tweets from the recent WrestleTuber events that took place.
Yes, I am seeing that. Hello, Sad Siren. Yeah, I will not dox them, but I know that they are also pulling stupid clock hours like I am. So thank you for swinging on by.
Thank you for dropping in on a very typical Malaysian time. It's 9 p.m. where I am, and I shudder to think what time it is at yours, Siren. But thank you for coming on by to Cornelius. Oh, and again, as I mentioned to Mario just now, before the stream, I am a shameless shill. I am only 5 subscribers away from 600 subs, folks. So you know what to do. Again, anyways, let us. So to those who are a little bit unaware of what KOKORO Pro is, let's actually watch a trailer of it. Let's watch the trailer from KOKORO Pro. This is the one available on Kickstarter.
Hey, KOKORO.
The song is Living Here. What am I gonna say?
Hey, KOKORO.
Oh, I recognize these.
Here we go. Hit you with the high flight flow. Start the show. We let you know that they're coming at you.
What about Eri Hattori? I don't know why.
To the mat and then they outmatch you. You're gonna tap from the pain as they work both your body and your brain. Yeah, that's believe me, bro. Your feelings will overflow. Scroll some more than they show. You're never gonna know when you feel the fire in your KOKORO. Hey, KOKORO, no.
I recognize her.
Hey, KOKORO, no. Hey, KOKORO.
Find your calling. Maybe even find love. Ooh, I'll be asking a little bit about that actually. Very nice, lovely. Woo.
KNP.
Oh, we got a little of that sort of chant going. I love it.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's gonna be like that, my friend. I mean, for crying out loud, I'm all gimmicked out. I've got the coffee mug gimmick that we normally promote over on our own streams. Yeah, we're going whole hog today.
Lovely. Speaking of whole hog. Okay. So before we get into KNP proper, once again, I need to mention this, folks. I am a shameless shill for myself. And which means that I'm gonna be showing a little bit of myself. Why? For a little context here, folks, I have given Mario and his group due warning that this interview might not even have happened at all, for the simple reason that I was in a wrestling match last night. Okay, I was in what we call the is basically called Causeway Jam Kuala Lumpur. Basically, the whole, and this is organized primarily by MyPW and of course Grapple Max from Singapore. So this is a very unique event in that it is basically the whole gimmick of it is that every match is Malaysia versus Singapore. We are two neighboring countries that are in some ways have extremely close ties with one another. Singapore, for context, Singapore used to be a part of Malaysia. There's the whole bridge thing between us, so we are extremely close country. Malaysians are always going to Singapore to wrestle, and vice versa. Causeway Jam has always occurred in Singapore, hence the name Causeway Jam across the, because the causeway always has terrible traffic. However, this just yesterday, it's a very special event because we decided to bring Causeway Jam to Kuala Lumpur instead. So this is the first time it's ever held in Malaysia, my home country. So MyPW is one that's organizing the event primarily. And I was involved in a 4v4 Survivor Series elimination tag match. So, oh my god, that match was bonkers. That match was one of the more bonkers one I was involved with. I'm not gonna show too much of it. I'm gonna show just one clip of me. I'm gonna let me just
Spoiler, it's a really good
oh my god. Let's see. You should be. You can see it. Okay, good. Okay, so I'm just gonna show it right now, folks. So to those who are wondering, so for a guy named Cornelius Lowe, this is my first ever dive.
Cornelius Lowe going up high from the turnbuckle.
Yes, from the turnbuckle to the outside. Malaysia, Boleh! If you're wondering what that means, it means that Malaysia, we can do it. That's essentially. That was. I cannot stress this enough. I am called Cornelius Lowe for a reason. I am a technical wrestler. I tie people up.
I was even going to mention that because I've noticed from some of your other content, and even when we were getting prepared for today's chat, I know you are a very technical wrestler who doesn't tend to do the high flying stuff. So this was this was very unusual. So very cool.
Yeah. How did this
surprise.
I guess I can explain it a little bit. So it's essentially. This was Team MyPW versus Team Grapplemax, Malaysia versus Singapore. There's a good bit of pride to be had here indeed. We love each other, but we also hate each other. We call one of our national foods roti canai. They call it roti prata. It's a whole thing and stuff. One of the wrestlers, his name is Big Dave, even yelled to the crowd. Singaporean food is better than Malaysian food, and if you know anything about Singapore and Malaysia, that is a bold-faced lie. So the crowd was hot, as you saw, and so so everyone was brawling on the outside. I managed to get someone. I managed to spinning neck breaker someone out, and they rolled out of the ring. I see there's all this brawling happen, and I had a light bulb thought in my head. And I realized if there's any time to go a little bit wild, a little bit patriotic, because people think that I'm unpatriotic. I am, sort of. So I ran backstage, ran out with the flag, climbed up to the top row, which I have. Oh, okay. I have practiced, so it's not like I'm a complete foreigner to going up on the top rope and practicing stuff, in training and all that jazz. I can do springboards, believe it or not, but in an actual official match, this was my first ever dive, and it was holding the national flag, jumping to the outside onto 5 people, some of which were my allies and all that jazz. So it's one of the nuttiest things I've ever done. So yes, folks, I am a professional wrestler, and I'm interviewing a professional wrestling visual novel game dev.
I was gonna say
The very next day.
what really brings back some nostalgia for me, and this is something we can definitely get into later. During my time with Kaiju Big Battle, there is a long-running character that's one of the OG characters of Kaiju Big Battle called American Beetle. His whole joke is, being overly patriotic. So like his whole getup, it's American flag themed, and I can't help but think of one of my old buddies who would regularly play the physical body of American Beetle during my run with Kaiju Big Battle. He was notorious for doing wild dives. I remember the WrestleMania weekend show. He dove off of a balcony, and I'm like, God. I would have totally seen him taking the American flag and just like yeeting himself off just in a similar fashion. So it brought back some good memories to me seeing that clip.
See, the crazy thing is that I am very much known for the exact opposite. I play it safe. I do strategies that's on the practical side. But because of, I guess it was just the right moment for me just to go a little bit more balls to the walls. I've been involved in some weird shenanigans before, but this was easily the wildest thing I've ever done. And I gotta say, that the high-flying bug is, oh dear, what is happening to me? What is happening to me indeed? Okay, enough about me. So yes, just a little context as to why I might be a little bit knackered today, folks. Why? Because, oh my God. Because just give you some context as to how, like, even though that was a great crowd, sold out twice, crowd was loving the whole show. At the end of the day, that was an independent show. So guess what? You will know this very well, Mario. It is us, the talents, that is disassembling the ring, reassembling the ring. Once the show is done, and we rinse and repeat, we take it back the center and all that jazz, and then comes of course the supper, and then taking care of the Singaporean contingent. There was a lot of them that day, mind you. So so I'm yeah. By the way, did I mention that I also did that this morning alone? I went through a Singapore. I went through a wrestling seminar ran by the Singaporean wrestling coach. So God. I was like,
putting in the work.
I mean, what worked? Wait, what worked? Sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying, you're putting in the work.
Oh, geez, you have no idea.
Doing the show, being everyone's chauffeur / butler, I guess.
Yes.
as part of the gimmick. And then doing a seminar and all the breakdown. Oh my God, putting in the work, my friend.
So it was a full-on weekend. I mean, I'm glad I went to the seminar. I got to learn a couple of newfangled tricks. So I gotta give credit to N-Boss Gregory, who ran the seminar. So just a little context. Grapple Max is a Singaporean wrestling company. Causeway Jam is very much specifically MyPW versus Grapple Max, as opposed to the other Singaporean wrestling companies. Believe it or not, there's 3 in Singapore alone. It's wild. It's a tiny island with 3 companies. It's mad. And Grapple Max is particularly Puroresu centric. Put it this way. N-Boss Gregory, the head of Grapple Max, his sensei is Dick Togo. How's that for a freaking name drop?
Well.
Yes, Dick Togo from House of Torture. That Dick Togo.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. What a world we live in. Okay.
So because we're talking, New Japan and presumably strong style training, how much neck conditioning did they make you do in that particular seminar?
Thankfully, because we were all, I mean, the Singaporean contingent was like all knackered because they were staying in the, I think it's okay for me to say this, they were staying in a particularly shitty hotel, and we stayed up so late, and again I cannot, like, apparently the Singaporeans have experienced haunted incidents apparently in that hotel, so we decided to take it a little easier on this morning, and we went through some technical wrestling stuff, so that was much appreciated because obviously I'm a tech kind of guy, so I got to learn some stuff from there. Really interesting things indeed. If I were to say things to you like a front key lock takeover, it's that kind of level of tech essentially. So That was really fun for me. It will sound like science to our viewers, so I'm not gonna dwell on that too much. Okay, but speaking of dwelling, Mr. Bueno, you claim to actually have done a good bit of been involved, legitimately involved with some pro wrestling broadcasting over the few years. Is that true?
That's correct. So as alluded to before, my actual experience, like in terms of being, and for all intents and purposes, on-camera talent, but a lot of these were, untelevised, essentially house shows. That's how they tend to roll, and then they just take the recordings and put them on DVD later. It would be with long-running performance troupe Kaiju Big Battle. They've been running. They actually just celebrated their 30th anniversary this year. It has been a very interesting relationship I've had with them, because I found out about Kaiju Big Battle in the early 2000s when I was just getting into anime. So it hit at a very interesting time. At that point, I had been full force a professional wrestling fan. I am very much, as I mentioned to you when we first had a little chat the other day to start getting ready for today's interview. Like I'd always appreciated pro wrestling. I didn't really watch it as a kid, but I grew up in the golden era. So I had the Hulk Hogan, Macho Man toys. Knew the Ultimate Warrior. Had the Ted DiBiase wrestling buddy. That's one of my childhood favorites. So I knew of wrestling. I watched all the ancillary media. Didn't watch the actual shows. And then fast forward to my teenage years, that was during the peak of the Attitude Era. I started watching late 1998, specifically before the Breakdown in Your House pay-per-view, where I believe that was the night before the beer truck. I'm sorry, no, it's the night before the Zamboni. Night before the Zamboni incident with Stone Cold Steve Austin, one of the greatest things ever in pro wrestling, in my opinion. Awesome. So I started watching around then, and I was big into wrestling going into high school, which is when I got into anime. And that's how I found Kaiju Big Battle, because of one of my high school buddies who I did a lot of my live performances and music stuff with during those years, which also was where I doing the open mic nights that the two of us would later run once I was a high school junior and he was a high school freshman. That he of all people introduced me to Kaiju Big Battle, and that was where I just jumped down the rabbit hole, because I'm like, wait, this is like this is like all those Godzilla movies I used to be super into, but it's also pro wrestling, and oh my god, there's so much anime influence. I love this, so I became a big fan of Kaiju Big Battle. And over the years, I followed them. I had my first taste of working with all this in 2006. There is an American anime convention called Anime Boston, which takes place in the titular city of Boston, Massachusetts, which, sidebar, is also the original home of Kaiju Big Battle. I got to film that show as one of the cameramen. So I was also backstage with the talent, getting to talk to them. That was because of one of the first public releases of Digital Era Entertainment, a fan film based off of a successful cosplay sketch called Final Fantasy versus Kaiju Big Battle. So over the years, I would stay in touch with the Kaiju crew. I went to a live show a few years later, talked to them at the merch table, picked up some DVDs and all that. And then fast forward a few more years, one of my buddies who I met doing anime conventions, and who took me to my first indie show, by the way, it was a Dragon Gate USA show in, I believe it was 2011. I have the DVD of that. It reads like a who's who of contemporary and recent megastars. The highlight of the show being Johnny Gargano winning the Open the Dragon Gate title. So that was how that was how I remembered Johnny Gargano. So my friend who brought me to that show got really involved in the indie scenes, specifically in Florida, when he moved down there a couple of years later. At one point, he starts coming up to do Evolve Pro Wrestling shows, because they were under the World Wrestling Network umbrella over here in the States at the time. This was before Gabe Sapolsky, I believe, sold it off to WWE or something. So at that same time, I had just been getting into indie wrestling, mainly British indie wrestling, courtesy of What Culture Pro Wrestling.
Oh dang!
I was one of those guys. Yeah,
my
yeah.
God.
Like, and that's also why I start my day with Cultaholic wrestling news. So,
Cultaholic.
so I was following WCPW. My buddy is, coming up for an Evolve show, and it featured like Zack Sabre and stuff. I'm like, oh my God, I love all these guys from the WCPW stuff. Like, I would love to go check out this show. At the show, he's like, by the way, are you familiar with a thing called Kaiju Big Battle? I turn to him and I'm like, my friend, let me tell you about Kaiju Big Battle.
Dang.
He's like, oh yeah, no, they're looking to get a new announcer because their lead announcer is going to have to leave soon. Why don't I get you to talk to Randy, who's one of the creators of Kaiju Big Battle, who is still involved with putting on the shows. So later on, after the show, I get reintroduced to Randy. Fast forward a month later, after some talks and an audition, they brought me on for Kaiju Big Battle, and I was with them for a year as their lead announcer, which for the uninitiated is a combination of ring announcer, color commentator, and for all intents and purposes, the narrator of the show. So I when I was soloing some of these shows at one point, I was basically going for a 2-hour stretch, full throat, with only a 10-minute intermission, not just doing the color commentary for the matches, but hyping up the crowd, doing the ring entrances for the characters, and also just like being a narrator, since none of the characters, with 2 exceptions, ended up talking. So I'm dropping lore in the middle of a match. It was insane, but it was so much fun. So that was kind of my foundation for professional wrestling experience, and by proxy of who we were working with, I would do like merch table for some of the WWN shows. So mostly Evolve. I was backstage at a lot of Evolve shows. Got to see Zack Sabre win the Evolve title. Got to also see Drew. Well, at the time, Drew Galloway, because he was still on excursion, so to speak. So I got to see him work some matches. I'm pretty sure I was there the night Darby Allin wrecked his arm in a match that made it to a Vice documentary.
Just one of his crashes. Just he's got loads. He's got loads.
Darby, the human crash dummy. So I was backstage getting to experience a lot of this. I tried to kind of hang back at the shows that I was observing, because since I wasn't part of the show, I was just trying to be as respectful as possible and just let people do their thing. And in some cases, I admit I was a little shy because I didn't want to fanboy over like Zack Sabre or Walter. got to stand next to that man, and good lord, just standing next to him, I was like, I will not mess with this human being. I do not want to take those jobs.
He looks like he was. It looks like his parents were like actual ogres or something, and he just I too am an ogre. Yes.
Oh, for real. And also it's because of this experience and all the ancillaries that I got to do merch table for British pro wrestling organization Progress, which I mentioned because it is going to be very important when we get into some of our later conversations about KOKORO no Pro. So I have a very soft spot in my heart for Progress because of getting to work that show and experience British strong style in person. So yeah, that's my as short as I can condense my experience with pro wrestling. And I did also do a virtual commentary in 2020 for an indie promotion, Time Bomb Pro Wrestling. They're based in, I believe, North Dakota. I might be wrong about that, and I apologize to Time Bomb Pro because they were super cool. But yeah, I haven't done much since then. So the closest I've done has been content we do at Digital Era Entertainment, which goes back to RJ's tease of our secret fourth pillar, VTubers. We run, it's been on hiatus since late last year because of the production involved in it and all of our schedules. It's a particular piece of content called Hololive Championship Wrestling. It is basically a pay-per-view length fantasy booking of virtual YouTuber talents, obviously focusing on Hololive, hence the name, in a professional wrestling league. We have done, at this point, 21 installments of Hololive Championship Wrestling. We've been meaning to finish off a current storyline since late last year, but that has been the closest I've done in terms of commentary, because the way that we present the matches, when we get into when we decide to do like some more live role play, the commentator comes out.
Hold on. What sort of game is Hololive Championship Wrestling?
That's the thing. It's not a game. I describe it charitably as like it's like a fantasy booking D&D roleplay, except we're not actually like playing the characters. We're just talking for them, describing their actions, sometimes talking about a promo that they're cutting or things going on in the match. Sometimes in detail, sometimes just very cursory. One of my personal high points for this piece of content was booking a 60-minute Iron Woman match that goes the full time limit.
Oh my god! Wait, what? Okay. Wait, so
we called it the Holiday Miracle because it took place during Holiday Havoc 2 Beach Bash BBQ.
Ooh, wait.
That was last summer.
It's not a game, and the way you describe it is not a visual novel either. So what is it exactly? I'm actually not catching.
Basically, like, imagine, you're doing like a live broadcast of a Dungeons and Dragons game, or just like a podcast. So it's very much audio focused, but we do have visual elements. RJ has been contributing to that project as well. It was created by one of our teammates who is also a VTuber. Who also is one of my VTuber senseis, as I call her.
I see.
One of the ones who dragged me down the rabbit hole. And of course, it was because of wrestling. So somehow wrestling brings me into VTubing. But that's the closest to commentary I've done these days.
Oh, that's cool. Actually, I gotta say, your own experience with wrestling actually sort of parallels mine a tad as well, because I actually got into a good bit of British indie wrestling via WCPW, actually. So I followed that a little bit. So I know I followed like the Gabe Kid's journey for a good bit, and
yes.
even progress.
He's come so far.
It's insane that he's in New Japan right now. Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah.
If you would have told anyone from like those years ago, in those WCPW days ago, that the Gabe Kid will end up in New Japan, they will call you insane. Like it just blows my mind that he's now over there. It's nuts. So what I'm getting at.
So sorry. One last thing I have to ask, because this is very fresh in mind, because what with the talks about Ricochet's contract coming up, I have to ask, did you get to see the Ospreay Ricochet 2 match where they broke the top rope? Did you ever get to see that?
I know. Yes. So good they broke the damn rope.
I watched that live. That was one of the IPTVs.
Live?
Oh, no. It was one of the ones that I got on iPay-per-view. Because I was like, I have to see this match, because I had seen the first one that they had in this Battle of the Super Juniors. And I'm like, this is insane. I have to see this. And then I honestly thought it was like a gimmicked rope. Turns out, no, that was like a shoot. That's how good they are, that they just turned what could have been a catastrophe into that magic that they did.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, it's just insane that they were able to adapt that way. It's kind of bonkers, kind of bonkers. Indeed. A fun little nugget for you. You mentioned Progress Wrestling. I'm not going to say exactly which match or who was involved, but there was a particular match that basically inspired me, that made me realize, hey, I think I can do this pro wrestling thing as well. So it was because of Progress, a very, very specific match that inspired me to pursue wrestling, if possible, if at all possible. And turns out there was a wrestling promotion actually not too far from where I was, actually, in Malaysia, mind you. And that's how this rabbit hole started for me, indeed. So essentially what I'm getting at is, okay, you're pretty knowledgeable of this whole wrestling thing, and you seem to be boasting.
And now it's time for me to embarrass myself.
Ladies and gentlemen. Okay, let's see. Welcome to Squad Solo Baseball Lightning Round. Featuring Mario Ramos. I believe you're able to see the screen.
That is correct. Yes.
Absolutely beautiful, folks. Absolutely beautiful. So this is what we're going to do, folks. Yeah. So as some of you know, I am the organizer of YouTube's longest-running VTuber pro wrestling game show featuring VTubers and streamers. So this is going to be a bit of an unofficial episode of Square Circle Made Simple, since we have someone who is actually a former pro wrestling a commentator with a lot of experience. So I thought, let's test him out a little bit. Folks. Okay, so let's see. So this is how it's going to work, folks. It's going to be a much more simpler, more streamlined version of Square Circle Made Simple. I will present the question to Mario. There will be no multiple choice because he's knowledgeable enough. He doesn't need no multiple choice. He doesn't need no hints.
Damn.
So let's see now. I wish I prep. I know I put the prep something here. Just to spice things up a little bit. I'll see if I can pull it out in due time or not. Let's just say, if Mario can get all 5 questions correct, I will spin the wheel of Batsu. Yeah, so we have a tradition in Square Circle Made Simple where I will be spinning what is it? We have basically a wheel of Batsu essentially that I do. And sometimes and it is meant for the participants, but let's just say hypothetically, if I were to scuff in my own game show, I will spin the wheel of Batsu as a result. So okay, fine, let's spice things up and let's see if I will be the one to spin the wheel of Batsu. Should you get all 5 questions correct? Let me just very quickly see if I have the wheel up already. Let me just very quickly get to it.
Very important point from the chat here. Sad Siren mentioning at least you got phone a friend. Do I got a lifeline?
After that tirade you did? I watched Progress. I watched WCPW. I knew this. I knew that. I met Volta. No, you don't get no lifeline. No lifeline.
All right, we're doing hard mode. We're doing hard mode. Let's go.
We're doing hard mode here, folks. We're doing hard mode here.
Good news for Cornelius. He won't have to spin the wheel.
So let's see, folks. Let's see. Where am I going to spin the wheel? Am I going to spin the wheel? Okay, let me just very quickly just grab. Let me just. I'm sure I have it here somewhere. Let's see. Should be this one. Oopsie. This. Okay. 1 second, folks. Just a little bit. Apologies for this scuff, folks. Does not mean I'm going to spin the wheel right now. I'm just going to use this ad hoc Batsu first, if you don't mind. 1 second. Okay, so
yes,
here's the
on the viewer side, they're seeing the wheel.
Yes, they are. So we
okay,
have
cool.
we have a few stuff here. We have tweet from chat, act like a Neko Chai for 2 minutes, sing something, 50 push-ups, drink salt, or call VTubers, then tell them wrestling facts. Clearly, I was supposed to use this for something else entirely, but this is what we got, folks. This is what we got. As you can tell, I'm being very ad hoc. Just winging as we go along here. Okay, so we'll put that away, and hopefully I can just put it away completely for this entire stream. And so let us begin. Mr. Mario, are you ready? Say yes, Mr. Mario.
Yes, I am super duper prepared. I am ready for any challenge you have to throw my way, brother.
Brilliant.
Let's effing go.
Brilliant. Apologies, Sad Siren. I did mention that the Batsus was just particularly for me. I'm being a nice uptown low life today, so no Batsus for Mr. Mario, just for me. So he needs to get all 5 questions, for me to do one. For me to spin the wheel of Batsu. So yes, I'm being a gentleman today. Apologies.
Yeah. Also, I'm definitely not going to be able to do that without pissing off my neighbors more than I probably already have, and I even left them notes warning them about this.
Exactly.
So might be a faux pas as a resident.
Okay. All right, and let's see. Okay, question 1. Who is the current WWE Universal Champion? Go.
Okay, so I guess we're counting the formerly Uwu Championship, in which case that would be the grandson of a plumber, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes.
And let's see if you are correct. You are indeed correct. It is indeed Cody Rhodes.
Okay, I'm gonna break what I just said. At least do it quietly. Adrenaline in my soul, something, Cody Rhodes.
It's always something. It's never the other thing, which no one ever remembers, even though they have, but it's always something. Anyways, congrats, you got question 1 correct. Let's see how you do with question 2. Finish the catchphrase. If you
smell what the Rock is cooking.
Dang it. I thought man, I should have used it. I should have just put if.
Well, that's.
I was thinking of using
that would
if
have been
you
cruel.
smell, but then I realized that might be too easy, so I started to just if you. Maybe I should have just left it as if.
So
congrats.
fun little trivia. Fun little trivia about this that also weirdly ties back to Digital Era and some of the early history of my pro wrestling fandom. So back in high school, a thing that I did with one of our main streamers, who is also one of my right-hand men over at Digital Era, Neo Ivan of Neo Ivan Gaming, we used to, in high school at some of these open mics, do basically cosplay wrestling promos. And on at least 2 occasions, I was the Rock.
Oh dang!
Yeah, I have impersonated and cosplayed the Dwayne since high school. So that for me, it was just like layup. Let's go.
Oh dang it! Okay. Clearly, I've been lowballing this a little bit. Haha. Yes, folks. I did say lowballing. But now we're gonna go into the high roll territory. The questions are gonna get much harder here, folks. I am giving you no quarter here. Okay, so you got question 1 and 2 correct.
So this is a From Software game now, hardcore difficulty spike.
Let's find out with question 3. Who recently brandished a flamethrower in a major wrestling promotion?
Funny that we were talking about the human crash dummy Darby Allin brandishing a Tony Khan branded All Elite Wrestling flamethrower, now available at AEWshop.com in like a week probably.
Yep. Oh man, I thought I would get you with that one. So congrats, you got question 3 correct as well. No bonus points if you know who he's lighting on fire.
Well, of course, it is the son of Sideshow Luke Perry, the scapegoat, Jack Perry, currently a member of the New Elite.
I remember I remember when he used to be just a boy from a jungle.
Just a boy and his dinosaur.
Indeed. Oh my goodness, what a world we live in. Indeed. So yes, congrats. I guess you got question 3 correct. Okay. Clearly, we need to get more obscure here. We need to get a lot more obscure here. So let's see. Question 1, 2, 3 correct. What about question 4? Name me this move. What's so funny?
You mean the ruiner of the best feud that we could have possibly had, and that should have been a sequel to one of the most banger Wrestle Kingdom main events of all time?
I'm not going down that rabbit hole, brother. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. I just need to move. What's the name of that move?
It's low blow. It's a very flagrant low blow.
This move
with some strong style panache from the king of strong style, Shinsuke Nakamura, being delivered to the phenomenal AJ Styles.
Okay, fine, we get it. Okay, you know who they are just from their tights alone. Okay, we get it. Fine. Okay, so
I also have to put over to the greatest to ever do it, because especially Shinsuke, Love that man and his theme song.
Sure thing. He is indeed very strong and stylish indeed. I just realized he's facing against someone who's also called AJ Styles. Anyways, okay, you got 4 out of 5, but now the coup de grace, the finale. Get ready.
I swear to God, if this is a Finn Balor / Prince Devitt question, that was the best lead-in if it was.
I am not an indie darling sucker. Thank you very much. Am I? Anyways, question 5. What is the name of the 2024 Indie VTuber Pro Wrestling event ran by Dokibird? Mr. Wrestling. I'm going cross-cultural here. There's no way you will know this one.
Welcome to the 2024 edition of WrestleTuber, run by Dokibird.
And your winner of Square Circle Made Simple Lightning Round, the Digital Era Entertainment, Mario Bueno. Yeah. I'm so happy for you. I'm on my. This is my streaming, and guess who's streaming the real Batsu? This guy right here. I'm pointing my writing prop at my face right here.
No.
Because why do I do this? Why do I do this to myself? I don't know. Don't ask me why, folks. I know for a fact that people love to see me suffer. It's just a fact. It's just a fact of life. It's a fact of life indeed. Okay, let me just move this to one side so we can all see the carnage that will be besotted upon me. Okay, and let me just very quickly just switch the screens for you, Mario, so you can see what Batsu I will get. I don't want to drink salt right now. I don't need salt in my body right now, damn it. Why did I put that? Why did I put salt? What's wrong with me? What did I plan this for? I don't even remember why I planned this for. Whatever. Okay. Which do you want me to do?
Let's see. So we've got. Tweet.
There's tweet from chat.
I feel like tweet from chat seems pretty safe. So that might be a winner there. I kind of like the idea of calling a VTuber and talking to them about wrestling. That sounds kind of amazing.
Yeah, it's probably a couple I could do it right now.
Not for nothing. You know, your fellow VEP members are now way more knowledgeable about wrestling because of the pro wrestling themed visual novel KOKORO no Pro, now available for Kickstarter.
Actually, that is so true. That is so true. I had to like teach them a little bit about this and that and stuff. I thought my fellow collab mate Fluffy Gem on what is a plant, even though there was no such thing as a plant in the game, but that just came up and I had to explain. So yeah, I legit explained a few terms to them actually. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, and even watching some of the other streams that the other members, some of whom I did see popping into the chat here earlier, so I don't know if they're still here, but hello to you lovely VEP members who have played KOKORO no Pro. They've definitely walked out of this game with a lot more fundamental wrestling knowledge. So you can now talk a lot more comfortably with your fellow VEP members about certain wrestling things. So yay, we're helping. Indeed.
Also, a quick shout out to Sir Weebrit in the chat. Who's the Uwu champion? I don't know. It's definitely not me right now. To those who aren't aware, so Weebrit is a fellow VTuber, and he also made a shocking number of models of in WWE 2K24 for and a lot of the VTubers that participated in WrestleTuber used his models actually. I think he made you man, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So and a couple more that was used on stream. So a good on you, Sir Weebrit. Good on you indeed. Okay, let's get this over with. It's spinning. Please not salt.
Come on, call VTuber. Call VTuber. Almost. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Let's go.
Are you kidding me?
Let's go.
Okay. Call VTubers, then tell them wrestling facts. Okay. Okay, they already think I'm some weird geriatric uncle type, and now I'm gonna have to like. Okay, wait, hold on. Oh,
No, you are their pro wrestling sensei. I will have you know.
I don't know. They probably think I'm I am 100% the weird uncle type that just goes on about stuff that they have no. Oh my god. Yeah. Okay, let me just see. GG Cornelius. Hey, Weebred, you wanna come on stream? if you do, just let me know in the chat. Just let me know in the chat. Yeah, we're just going balls to the fucking walls, man. Wait, I'm telling you. Wait, no. Weebred knows his stuff about wrestling. He doesn't need me to. Hold on. Okay, let me just quickly ask the guys in the VP chat. See, is anyone available? Hey guys.
Yeah, I know. Haru was in chat earlier. Just didn't
Indeed.
shout it out because I was not going to rudely interrupt you. I believe you were sharing some stories at the time.
You're complete. Let me just see if I even can find anyone right now. So I'll hang on to this just a little bit. If I really can't find anyone right now, I'll just I'll do it in the meantime whilst we move on with the interview and all
Yeah,
that.
don't worry. I won't hold it against you if we can't pull anybody on. I love that it actually landed on that. That to me was enough satisfaction to know that it actually did the thing and kept you from drinking salt.
Oh my god, I could have taken it out. It was within my right to take that out before I even started this whole lightning round shenanigan. But no. Oh, gosh. So so Weebred, stop making. You're not. So Weebred, the Batsu is call VTubers and tell them wrestling facts, not you giving me stuff to do. That's not how this works. Do you want to jump on chat or not? Or do you want to? Shall I just go on short call with you and I'll tell you some random wrestling facts?
But and hear me out.
No.
If we say his name, he might appear, and that would be kind of wild.
Imagine
That would be
if
amazing.
Henry were to just show up on stream just because we said Joe Henry. Yeah, clap.
There we go. Gotta include the clap.
Let me see. Okay.
While you're pulling that up, speaking of Joe Hendry, he was actually one of my favorites in the early WCPW days. Like, I still think of him as the local hero, Joe Hendry.
Oh my god,
forever
yes,
and always
same,
the local
same.
hero.
Joe Hendry, local hero. Yeah, all that jazz.
Oh
Yeah,
god, that
yeah.
was such a that was such an earworm. That theme
Yeah,
song.
it was, and it's almost
Like-
like more. It's almost like more. What's almost more impressive is seeing his current theme song actually just go ham. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, it went viral
Fluffy,
in the
you're
UK.
here. You're here. Do you wanna hop in? Hop on the VC for a quick bit. I mean, you are my collab mate in KOKORO no Pro after all.
Yeah. There
yeah.
you go, your tag team partner.
Yeah. Actually, let me just chat real quick. Can you come on VC? Please. I wrote please 3 times in the god awful way. Oh god. So yeah, please, Fluffy, help me out here. I need to complete this bot so then just move on with my life. Dang it. I should have. I will listen to you, sir. I can't speak for right now. Oh, dang it. Okay.
I mean, it still counts. You just have to talk. You just have to talk. It counts.
Tell call VTubers. Oh yeah. You don't have to talk. Welcome to Sue. Ref Ryan. Welcome. Why am all my moderators coming on now? So
They clearly want to hear you talk wrestling facts.
okay. Okay. Let me just ask this particular fellow here. Can I go on VC with you now, real quick? Oh my god. Wait. Hold on. So wait. You wanna jump on VC? You wanna jump on chat a real quick bit? Wait. Hold on. Fluffy's. I am here. Okay. Fluffy is here. Fluffy is here. Actually, do you want to add Fluffy into the chat? Actually, are you able to do that for us? Mario?
That's it's gonna be a workaround.
Should I just jump on a quick voice chat with her?
Yeah, if you can pull in a separate feed, it'll just be a lot quicker and easier since we're
Yeah,
live.
yeah,
I'm so sorry.
Okay, no problem. Okay, I'll just jump. Yeah, I'll call now. Okay, so I'll jump on her real quick. Okay. Hey, Fluffy? Can you hear me? You don't have to talk. You just have to just let me know if you can hear me. That's all. Because I know Fluffy. Fluffy. Ooh. Fluffy. Hold on. It sounded like she was in the wind tunnel. Okay. So I know it's hard to prove right now. Oh, maybe I can do this. Oh, there you go. Okay. So that's proof that Fluffy is here on the chat. I am on a voice chat with Fluffy. Okay, Fluffy, I'll just say one random wrestling fact to you, and that's it. That's all. Oh shoot, I'm blanking. So those unaware, Fluffy is the cute little cat there. So she can't speak right now, but that's okay. She doesn't need to speak. I just need to tell her some wrestling fact. I'm drawing a blank here. Oh shoot. What's a wrestling fact? What is a wrestling fact? Okay. I got one. No. Okay. I know. Okay. WWE wrestling cruiserweight legend Tajiri himself has. Did you know that Tajiri himself has wrestled in Malaysia at least twice? At least twice. Yes. And he has wrestled. He's also wrestled in Singapore. He's also wrestled in the Philippines. And I'll add this nugget of fact as well. British Strong Style has wrestled in Malaysia once as well, a long time ago, in a rather crazy event in a circus tent of all places. Yeah. Well, I didn't know. No way. Wrestling was very underground at the time. So yes, that is all. That is all, Fluffy. Maybe I'll talk to you more about it in the future. Okay. That's all from me, Fluffy. I'll talk to you next time. Thank you for helping me out here. Bye-bye. Okay, now I'll jump back to the thing. Okay. Did you get all that?
I caught part of it. I'm still hearing that echo, which is actually helping me out because when you popped out of chat, I was still able to hear what you've been saying. So it's slightly delayed, but I am hearing the fact that you did drop about Tajiri.
Okay.
I'm just pulling chat back up because I was tinkering with stuff while you were doing your fact.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so essentially what I said, just to reiterate, WWE Cruiserweight legend Tajiri has actually wrestled in Malaysia at least twice. He's wrestled multiple times in Singapore, wrestled many times in the Philippines, quite recently, in fact. Like he brought his Kyushu Pro Wrestling gang to Philippines, where it was like Kyushu Pro Wrestling versus Manila Wrestling Federation, actually. So yeah, that was wild. That was wild to see. And I also mentioned that British Strong Style, yes, that British Strong Style wrestled in Malaysia once, in a circus tent. Yeah, well, we'll be living. What a freaking world we live in.
To be fair, given the origins of modern day pro wrestling, that is actually weirdly appropriate.
It is. If you think I'm not saying it's a bad thing at all. It's just insane that happened. That British Strong Style came to Malaysia and did a whole 3v3. That was mad. That was mad indeed. So yes, okay. So
again, honoring the roots of modern day pro wrestling.
Indeed. And okay, so does that make this wrestling Sunday school? I don't know.
But actually.
So okay, so let's see now. Okay, let's finally get into the whole nitty gritty. Finally with KOKORO no Pro. Oh my god, we've gone past an hour because that's just what we do. That's what we do here in Cafe
You're surprised. you're surprised by this? Like me, I'm just like, oh, it's only been an hour because with all the enthusiasm and talking the graps, like what is time? Time is a construct.
Exactamento, exactamento. Okay, so maybe you could enlighten us actually, Mario. How did this whole idea for Kokoro no Pro came to be, actually?
So Kokoro no Pro was originally created by RJ Para circa early 2018. So in terms of the timeline I presented to you earlier, that was roughly midway through my run with Kaiju Big Battle. I'm guessing he's probably not in the chat because I know he had said he had to be at work around this time over on the East Coast. Because again, he is based in New Jersey. So on the opposite side of the United States from where I'm at. I'm literally just stalling for time to see if he pops up to tell his personal rendition of it. But so yeah, it's early 2018. I'll tell you my side of how it all like kind of came to be. One day he hits me up on Facebook Messenger. He's like, bro, and again, none of this is verbatim. This is just interpretation of the conversation for simplicity. It's like, bro, I got this idea for a dating sim. Check this out. It's a post-apocalyptic dating sim. And I'm like, that's cool, bro. I literally wrote something like this 10 years ago. Well, actually, no, at that point, it was like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I was going to present it at PAX East because there were a lot of similarities in what he presented to what I had in mind. So we started sharing ideas based off of my draft. We even like came up with some funny dialogue paths in that conversation. Then that was kind of the end of that. Oh, RJ is there. RJ,
hey there,
you are
RJ.
listening, but are you able to jump in the voice chat to tell like your part? I'm literally telling it from my side. So if you are able to jump in real quick, we can actually hear from the original creator in real time. So I'm literally stalling just to see. Yeah, dude. Jump into the chat real quick. This is literally the part that I was hoping we could get you for. So perfect timing.
Yeah, perfect timing.
It's all coming together. So I'll tell my side until he pops into the chat, in which case he can tell like in a little bit more detail the original idea. So a few days later he comes back to me. He's like, bro, I got this other idea. And this was what would turn out to be the idea that would later become Kokoro no Pro. Again, I'm super stalling for time. It's just that he has enough time to get in here, so I don't like glaze over this point and get to the next stage in the genesis of Kokoro no Pro. But I will point something out that is kind of funny in retrospect. Back in 2020, a game released called Undead Darlings, which, funny enough, is actually the realization of the game that both of us had in mind when we first started talking about this. So we'll talk more about that in a second because I see an RJ. Hello, RJ. Thank you for joining
RJ.
us.
Everyone, please welcome RJ. The game dev for Kokoro no Pro. RJ,
Yep,
you
the
there?
original creator.
Just here for a quick bit, but it's just a short little thing. So basically, what Mario has basically said so far is basically got through. We actually had an inspiration after we were looking at various. Well, I have to say thanks to Tokyo Literature Club for getting me into visual novels. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. We're letting you speak.
Yeah. So then after that, we were like, man, it'd be great if we make one. Then I had.
Ooh, stuff is happening. Who knows what's going on?
Muted himself.
Yeah. Sorry, has to deal with somebody. So basically, it's how it happened.
Oh dear.
Well, the original one was. I watched like Common Writer. There was like this thing where it had a dating combining two games, which was. I have very little time, but basically, there was a thing in Common Writer that had me inspired to do that post-apocalyptic dating sim, which then we worked back and forth about that. But then suddenly had like, I think something with Rust, and then that's where I pitched it in Mario. We hit that back and forth. Didn't actually do much about it until like a couple of years, like at least like a year and a half later. And then we just back and forth it. I just worked on designs in the meantime. Like, hey, and then he just bumped us like, hey, you know that game that you were talking about? Do you know how to work on designs? And we just kept bumping back and forth throughout the years, and that's how I got into it. I wish I had a better. That's basically as much as I do because I'm asking this time.
Thank you, RJ.
I'd love to explain more, but unfortunately, I got it.
Not a problem, RJ. If you need to head
we're
up
just
soon,
we're just glad that you were able to pop in, especially at this point, because this was literally like, oh, it'd be great if we could have RJ for this.
Man, if I'm able to, for any answers for any questions that are going to be there, I'll just put in answers on the chat.
Sure.
So I can, because I don't want you to hear the background. You're already hearing the background of a very empty right now. I want you to
No problem.
like hear. Yes. Anyways, thank you for having me up. I'll see you all in the chat.
Thank you so much, RJ. That was
Thanks,
awesome.
RJ. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that, RJ. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So let's give it up for RJ. RJ Para. RJ Para. Gotta do it wrestling style. Yeah, so RJ pretty much hit the nail on the head. Like the B side to that from my end. I was essentially like consulting like low key during that period of the year and a half that I mentioned, and it was during that time of consulting that I really started to see the initial framework of this game come together, really start to see something special. Because even from early on, like there was something very unique about the way he was positioning it. So once I got more involved as a consultant, we eventually folded it into Digital Era. And I guess this kind of also skips ahead to one of your questions that we were going to have to get into anyway. Why a visual novel? So the original concept was a wrestling game / dating sim. So like more of a, excuse me, suddenly getting real phlegmy here. So more of a professional wrestling game that had the dating sim element. Because of practical reasons at that point, it was like, why don't we pivot to a visual novel? Because there are more resources for folks like us who just don't really have the programming experience or the resources to do a more ambitious game, even with the aid of some of the game making programs out there. And the way that the story was coming together, it felt like it could make for a very good narrative. And the strength that both of us bring to the table and that Digital Era Entertainment in general has been basically predicated on is narrative, storytelling. Even when we have no budget, we will tell stories that will resonate with people for years. They're designed to be evergreen stories. So the visual novel format was the best way to kind of let us finish this come hell or high water and get this story out into the world. And that was like how the early origins of KOKORO no Pro came to be, based on everything we've just shared, and why we pivoted to a visual novel. Like you probably see in the way that we've presented certain things, like the stinger for the demo of KOKORO no Pro, which is still reflecting the first version of the Kickstarter campaign. We talk about possibly adding a wrestling engine. That has been one of the things we've been trying to honor since the beginning, even though we're still building it as a visual novel. So yeah, like even the way that the story is set up was intended to be able to quickly pivot to add in a wrestling engine. Because don't you find it a little weird that you've gotten all this pro wrestling knowledge in only a month? I know we're working with anime and video game logic here, but like it's a bit quick to absorb that level of knowledge. That's partially because of the original gameplay roadmap. And even RJ is mentioning it here in the chat, like some of the story and designs had the wrestling engine in mind. So, we had to make changes when pivoting to the visual novel. And some of that is reflected in the narrative and how the narrative is going to be structured, especially moving into Core 2. Like Core 1, when you look at the full events, it's going to take place within more or less that first month of your third year. Core 2 is going to be a completely different beast once we get to it.
Let's bring it back a little bit here.
Of course.
What is when you say wrestling engine? What does that mean specifically, actually?
So wrestling engine, as in like a way that you can play out the wrestling matches. We've had a lot of discussions, and we even pitched a few different things, not just publicly on the Kickstarter, but even internally. We've talked about everything from like a more role-playing game style of turn-based combat, or a more Pokemon style engine. We even have a teaser that was made by one of the folks who could help us with programming. It was originally just kind of a gag that he put together, but when we were putting together the Kickstarter, I was like, hey, can we actually like showcase this? Because like if we have the budget, we'll pay you to do this. So we teased like a Pokemon style engine. I know I was advocating for a more action oriented engine, in the vein of something like Saturday Night Slam Masters, or 3 Count Bout, or Fire Suplex, depending on what part of the world you're in. Because I was leaning towards Slam Masters, because we've finally gotten a successor to the Nintendo 64 wrestling game style, but we haven't seen anything in the style of something like Saturday Night Slam Masters since Saturday Night Slam Masters, and even Fire Suplex / 3 Count Bout. RJ is a very big Neo Geo fan, or very big SNK fan. Surprising nobody, if you notice Hoshino Sensei's design aesthetic, she has a lot of similarities to Mai Shiranui from the King of Fighters.
That just hit me. I was wondering why she looked familiar.
Yeah. RJ is a big fan of Mai, and that's very much reflected in Hoshino Sensei. So having a Neo Geo style wrestling engine would have been super cool. So those were like the pie in the sky ideas, a lot of which we had to pull back on in the second campaign, because ironically, I'm sure you and I in this conversation right now, we're thinking, wow, that sounds pretty cool. I'm sure some of the people in the chat are just like, wow, that sounds pretty cool. Like, I would fund that. Yes, spoiler, a lot of people got really put off by that. So that's why, like, for our rebuild campaign, even though some of the threads of that linger in the demo stinger, they are basically put behind a paywall, literally, in the second campaign.
Why so?
Because we got a lot of pushback on that. People were very uncomfortable, because the irony was, we were putting it out there to say, this is what we would like to do. It is a thing that even in one of the other videos we have traditionally used to promote the game, our feature on IGN and Rogue Games Rogue Jam in 2022, they talked about how, we would love to see this if it had a wrestling element. So we wanted to put out there that, if we got the funding, we've got people who can help us program this. So get us this stupid stretch goal, we'll get you a wrestling engine in the game, thinking that would inspire confidence. Have confidence! No confidence. Like, it was quite the opposite. It actually made people more nervous, thinking, oh, these amateurs want to do this. No thanks. You can keep your potentially scammy Kickstarter nonsense to yourself, because you know, like, that's always been a big thing with gaming Kickstarters. Like, it's had that reputation, shall we say. So we were trying to avoid that by putting everything out there.
Interesting.
Had the opposite effect. So that's why you don't see the wrestling engine as one of our build features. We're just doubling down on the visual novel, because that's what people are more confident in us being able to complete, and what in many ways they probably want from us, because let's face it, a potentially mainstream visual novel about professional wrestling, that's something.
So the whole inclusion of the whole inclusion, potential inclusion of a wrestling engine, actually gave the sort of illusion that this whole project might be just too ambitious, too unfeasible.
Correct. Yes, and
interesting.
ambitious was one of the words that was used in some of the feedback that I did get late in the campaign when we were trying to figure out, why people weren't engaging with us, why people weren't, you know, as excited as we had been led to believe with literally all of our other interactions, both online and off, about Kokoro no Pro, and that was one of the big things. People thought it was too ambitious, and I laughed that off because I've always thought very pie in the sky. That's been my MO, but I see that as a positive. if we want to go old school WWE, that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
So I guess right now you guys are like doubling down on the narrative of this, that you're really focusing on the story.
Correct. Yeah, and that's why one of the features we added in, which would have actually been in the first iteration of the Kickstarter if there had been time to negotiate it, because there was super overlap going into that first Kickstarter, because we were preparing for WrestleCon to promote the game, finishing up elements for the demo that you all played, and also preparing this Kickstarter campaign all at once, and everything just overlapped. So what we added in this time, which was a big feature that we've been promoting, has been the addition of a Japanese translation. We're getting a professional translator to help adapt the story, and we're so pumped about that, because given that it is set in Japan, we are leaning so heavily on not just Western professional wrestling, but Japanese professional wrestling. We really wanted to get this in the hands of Japanese players, but I didn't want to promise that until we had like something in place, and we got that during what I've been billing as the intermission between campaigns. That was our timeout. We call the timeout powdered out of the ring, waited for like if we're going by Japanese standards, the 20 count, by American standards, the 10 count. We powdered out until 9 or 19, and then we powdered back in. So that was the thing we did then.
Just those are not aware. When we say when Mario here is referring to powder, that refers to like rolling out of the ring, essentially. Just by the way, Mario, I don't mind it for this particular stream. I typically am a little bit old school. I don't usually use insider terms too much in my streams. Unless if I really, really have to. Some of the terms I don't mind, like heel, face, kayfabe. All that is good. Powder is very. I can't believe we're going to the extent of talking about. I was actually trying to avoid the word powder just now. Actually, we're talking about my wrestling spot.
Now normally I also do the same thing. But since we have been really predicating Kokoro no Pro on the educational element. And also, admittedly, it's just fun talking with somebody, who's a worker after like a long time. It is. I'm kind of tying it into one of the things we are trying to accomplish with this game, and that is the educational element. So, for example, the stream that you and Fluffy did is one of the perfect examples of what I'm talking about for what we're trying to accomplish from that side with this game. Even in one of the promotional videos, I talked about how Kokoro no Pro can potentially give multiple entry points to multiple fandoms. So not just like pro wrestling, but anime, visual novel style games. Like if you're a wrestling fan and you also love anime and you want to get like your anime friend into pro wrestling, get them to play Kokoro no Pro. If you're like an anime fan who's like not super into wrestling but always was curious, you play that. Or like, oh, you've got that wrestling friend you want to get into anime, hey, come play Kokoro no Pro. So that's the kind of approach we're looking for, like that exchange of information through the melting pot that is the experience of Kokoro no Pro. And even at WrestleCon, I know I mentioned it to you off stream. I'm going to share this for context for our live viewers. I was speaking to folks who have worked at places like WWE, looking them in the eye and explaining to them this same philosophy, because they are also big into anime, big into gaming culture. And I was talking about how in the pro wrestling world, there's a lot of stuff you just kind of have to learn by osmosis. Like even if you're training in a school, you're mostly focusing on like the technical, the physical aspects, but the culture, you either know it, you're getting ribbed or made fun of or pranked, or you just kind of have to learn hard way. I had to learn a lot of stuff hard way, and I feel really bad about that in retrospect. Like even basic things no one told me about, I had to learn hard way, and these are things that we're going to integrate into the experience for KOKORO no Pro, not just for the authenticity for people who are professional wrestlers playing this game, but also for people who are aspiring wrestlers who might just want to learn more about it and interact with the culture in a much more natural way. So that's the sort of stuff we're trying to bring in terms of like that experience. So hence your experience with Fluffy and some of the other VEP members, seeing them learn these things even though they've only just watched pro wrestling like at certain points in their life. That's part of the magic of what we're putting into KOKORO no Pro.
Interesting. So would you say that then that KOKORO no Pro are you trying to find a balance between it sounds like you are very much trying to have KOKORO no Pro be very casual friendly, but will wrestling fans who are really interested also be rewarded playing this game then?
Oh, absolutely. That like the terminology and the use of it is one of the tells of this. In earlier chapters, there's an entire segment where we focus on 3 particular shows that have happened in pro wrestling history that cover the different styles that we are showcasing in KOKORO no Pro.
You're referring to like real events?
Referring to real events.
Ooh.
Yeah, so there's if you remember from the demo, in the narration when the main character is talking about his training and his homework in air quotes, the homework we actually see play out in real time. He's watching a streaming network, and depending on your choices, you get a different show for what you experience. Yeah. So you're the show that you watch. It's essentially a recap of particular shows that represent the particular styles for that play style that you have chosen. So it's almost like a brief historical document for people who know nothing about pro wrestling or who are pro wrestling enthusiasts are like, oh, this show, or if they've never heard of it because of a lot of its older stuff, it's like, oh, I'm gonna go check out this show now. Oh, okay, sure, let me go research why they put this in this game. So it's things like that are in the earlier chapters of the game and will be continued to be worked in to the later chapters that, like you said, will reward pro wrestling fans very nicely.
So there's almost like a documentary aspect to this to an extent in this game.
Yeah, I mean the reason why I mentioned it as more of like an historical footnote is because it's less documentary, just more so here's an interesting fact. An example using another visual novel that did a far more cursory version of this, and it's one that we featured on Digital Era, ironically before we even debuted the first trailer announcing KOKORO no Pro publicly. Have you played the game Dream Daddy? A dad dating simulator?
Oh my god, wait, you're gonna bring up Dream Daddy? Oh my god.
Heck yeah, I am.
Dream Daddy. Fun fact,
speaking of earworms,
I'm not only, well, okay, I didn't play it, but I was a part of a collab that featured my good friend who's a comedian, and he got a bunch of some of his voice his streamer friends who are decent at voice acting, and so this included me. So I voiced some of the daddies essentially in Dreamer. So it was almost like a voice of a collab for me.
Please tell me you were Hugo. Please tell me you were Hugo.
Who's Hugo again?
Was
that the teacher?
Are we? Yeah, the teacher.
I think I might have voiced him a little bit. The one that I really remember, I mainly voiced the vampire.
Okay. So the
vampire?
reason, did you play all the routes, or do you at least know the rest of the story? And are you okay with spoilers if you are not?
No, I did not play all the routes. The one that we focused on was, I think, was the, I forgot his name. It was the Korean dude. He's the one with the dad with the kids already.
Oh, Craig. Yeah,
Craig. Yes,
the dude,
Craig.
bro. Yeah.
Craig. But I'm cool with spoilers, so go ahead.
Okay. So the reason why I single out Hugo, if you play his route, which by pure chance, like we were doing a collab with our team members at Digital Era. I voiced Hugo for that one, and RJ was not just the daughter Amanda, but he also played Craig, the dude bro. By pure chance, and again, this is the only two who knew where we were going was myself and Neo Ivan, who was running the stream and playing the dad. We went on the Hugo route, which is the pro wrestling route.
Wait, what? Wait,
Hugo,
what?
Hugo, as you find out, and I'm so sorry for spoilers, but also, like the game's been out for what, 7 years now? He is a closet pro wrestling fan. You go to a wrestling show and you discover all this because you go to a trivia night where they ask wrestling questions, and he just marks out so hard. And the reason I bring this up is that scene, the initial trivia show, they drop wrestling trivia in this dating game.
Oh my god, why didn't we choose? Okay, here's the thing. Like I said, the host of that collab thing, his name is Sam C. He's a great comedian. He's Singaporean, but he's based in the UK right now. He too is a massive wrestling fan. He ran a pro wrestling tabletop RPG stream that featured actual Southeast Asian wrestlers. We didn't go for Hugo. Oh my god.
I was gonna say, it sounds like y'all have to do a Hugo route run now.
Damn it! I have to get Dream Daddy now. Wait, do I have Dream Daddy?
Yep.
I don't think I have Dream Daddy. Oh my god! What the?
Yeah, so you got to do the Hugo route. The finale in particular, like we leaned on for like a year.
Oh my god! Sam would.
Yeah. Yeah.
This Sam. I don't think Sam knew. No one told.
And that was the best part. Like, we were just ready to go with it, but Ivan and I, we knew the second they were like, "Oh, Hugo route, okay," wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and I was just dying because I don't remember if RJ knew. If he did, I would have been like, "Bro, you're not gonna believe this." And again, we're doing this stream weeks before we debuted KOKORO no Pro publicly, so it was the happiest accident. I'm a fan of saying that serendipity is the best muse. This was proof of it, because it's like, oh my god, we're doing the pro wrestling route in Dream Daddy just before we debut our pro wrestling themed visual novel. I bring it up because wrestling facts come into play in that game, and that's why I say, like, it's less documentary and more like cool trivia to get people curious about wrestling outside of the game.
I see.
Because that's what they do in Dream Daddy, in that route.
We chose the hot Korean with the kid.
I mean, to be fair, Craig is very ripped. Everyone's thirsty for Craig. I'm not surprised.
Thirsty for Craig. It was so funny. Oh my god! I don't think Sam knew either. Even though he would 100% would have mentioned it, because I was there. I was a real wrestler.
Oh my god! I know, that's the part that's killing me. It's like, and you voiced Hugo. You were literally perfect.
Well, okay. Now I know what I'm gonna do it for in the next 4 weeks now. Oh my god. Okay. Note to self.
Hugo run.
Dream Daddy.
Yep. Dream Daddy Hugo run. Let's go.
Oh my god. So, you get Dream Daddy. Oh jeez, Willikers. Okay, let's just pivot back into the KOKORO.
Of course.
No pro actually. So in that preview build, I was a little bit surprised to see that in some ways we did not start at chapter 1. That preview build was specifically on, was it chapter 7 or 8 actually?
That is correct. Technically, yeah, it was chapter 7 with a bit of chapter 8. There's no title card there because the title card happens in between the time skip that's featured in the demo. So yeah, sorry, you had a question about that.
Yes. So essentially, why was the demo focused on chapter 7 as opposed to like something in chapter 1?
Happy to answer that. So the way that we've been presenting how KOKORO no Pro has been evolving, especially as we've doubled down on the visual novel aspect, and especially as the rest of it gets laid out, it plays out more like a season of anime. That's also why even in our Kickstarter and how we're going to build the game, each part is being listed as a core. We're treating this like a season of anime, and even the chapters, you might as well just swap the word chapter for episode, because that's the vibe we're going for in the story. So what chapter 7 is, because originally it was like the mid-season finale by itself. So that was going to be our original break point for Core 1, before realizing, oh, we're going to need to add 2 extra chapters, not just to round out the numbers for each chapter, but also to expand on things that come up in chapter 8 specifically. So chapter 7 is essentially part of the mid-season finale. So that's also why you get this kind of vibe of, at the beginning, oh, are we like recapping the journey up to now? Are we recapping these characters? You know how like when you're watching the penultimate episode of like either the first half of a season of anime or like a penultimate episode of an anime, you get like these recaps of the experience up to that point, even though like it's more to get an emotional reaction at that point rather than a factual one. That's the vibe that this is going to have in the final experience. But it works out for our demo because it also shows you everybody as we've met them up to this point, because chapter 7 is where we first see everybody in their wrestling outfits. So that's like the big reveal. For demo purposes, that's our hook. Like we're hooking people in with the wrestling element right off the bat. But because of the structure of the story up to that point and that chapter leading into it, it's the perfect starting point that you don't have to like get through everything, and you get to see everybody in their essentially natural environment. And you also get teases of the work that we've done for the matches, the work that we're doing for the character building moving forward past what's available so far. So that's why we jump in at chapter 7, and why we even tease that we're gonna release the entire chapter. Spoiler, that might not happen because of technical limitations, as we learned hard way when putting up the web build of the demo. But like the match itself, the part of the reason it's not in the demo, it requires so much artwork, because that would have been gameplay if we had a wrestling engine. It does not. So I literally wrote the entire match. And it is going to be an experience. I know I'm hyping it up, but I'm genuinely proud of the writing that was done for that. And if based on the reactions people have had to just the narrative so far, even the little teases of the action, I think people are really going to enjoy like the actual match when we get to present it to you, especially with Lorraine's art when she finally gets to do it. Oh my God, I can't wait to see what she does for each segment of the match that she'll have available to draw inspiration from, literally.
Ooh, that'll be
So yeah, that's why we start there. It's essentially our mid-season finale that gives you just enough of everything to get invested, but also not be completely lost. Like, you'll be a little lost because there is stuff like, for example, certain wrestling terms, we don't define them there because we define them earlier in the story. So by that point, we kind of expect the player to be up to snuff. That was a necessary compromise for the demo. But in the full game, you'll be way more prepared going into it with the wrestling terminology, and anything new gets taken care of in that, with the exception of potatoes. That was just thrown in there as purely a gag for insiders, but it is a thing we're gonna have to find a way to define in the full game, because it's not defined anywhere earlier, because it's just there as kind of like a wink wink nudge nudge for wrestlers and hardcore wrestling fans.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely had to like school Fluffy a little bit about potatoing in the. So I'm actually curious, actually. So KOKORO Pro, obviously the whole shtick is that it's learning about pro wrestling in a high school setting. This kid who's a little bit lost in life encounters I believe Mascara and Helica. Is that the name?
That is correct.
And goes on this wrestling journey with a whole bunch of eclectic characters. But what are some of like the overall themes that are being explored in this, actually?
Certainly. So part of why we also bill it as a pro wrestling themed visual novel and not a dating sim, while there are the obvious elements of a dating sim story, there will be romantic roots and what have you, because especially with how invested people are going to get with some of these characters, It'd be kind of grimy not to not to let them, indulge in that by the end of the story, like to get that payoff, if you will. But one of the things we've mentioned in our marketing when teasing, some of the story elements, things like friendship, things like camaraderie, the shared learning experience. Some of the feedback I've seen from some other players of the demo, from the VEP talents, one in particular highlighted how much they loved that feeling of positivity and encouragement that you get in things like Angelica's pep talk, which, God, I have seen that scene play out so many times in testing and in watching streams, and I still get kind of choked up and teary-eyed every time, because writing that scene, those are the kinds of pep talks that I would give to my own teams when doing cosplay masquerade. I love giving a good pep talk to a team and having that feeling of camaraderie come through. I'm sorry, you first.
Yeah, it's something that I've encountered in real life, actually. These sort of wrestling pep talks before a show, starting off a new event, getting the locker room all fired up to put on the best show possible. That's something that does actually happen. So that hit me. Yes, indeed, KOKORO, indeed.
Hey.
So that really does hit home for me, because I can see that you really brought that sort of your own pro wrestling experience into this. So yeah, I do felt that.
And again, I come from an entertainment background. I trained in theater, I trained for on camera and voiceover. So entertainment is kind of in my blood. It is who I am, and I try to pour that into whatever project I'm working on. And in this case, for KOKORO no Pro, I was bringing in the pro wrestling backstage life that I lived, my theater backstage life that I lived when I was training for it. And again, even my cosplay life had those elements, and I was bringing in these feelings, these memories. So that's one of the things we're trying to bring in thematically. We also later as the epilogues are pointing out, we're going to be dealing with life outside the ring, because there's a lot in pro wrestling, not just in the actual functional part of being a pro wrestler, but how it also affects your life. Right now, I'm listening to the audiobook of the Young Bucks autobiography, and just some of the stories that they relate. Even the opening chapter, I was not prepared for. It's the very traumatic story of Matt Jackson's birth. And there were certain things in there that I'm like, oh my God, some of these things remind me of the real life stuff we're going to be, pardon the pun, grappling with in some of the story epilogues, some very real life stuff years later.
A term that I actually learned that's very, very apt for just the whole wrestling shtick in the locker room is shared trauma. Is there going to be a lot of shared trauma in KOKORO no Pro?
How do I put this? Yes and no. You'll see. You'll see as we get when we get into the second half of the story. The first half, it's mostly just again, going by anime standards, it's a lot of introductions, character building, getting to know everybody. The second half, based on the decisions you're going to make, because we only have treatments of the second half right now. All that's really set in stone in any capacity are the majority of the epilogues, because we're using that as our reference point for where we are ultimately going. So the decisions you're going to make, you're going to either connect more with certain characters or others, and it's going to be a different focus when we get to core 2. That's why it's a little tough to answer so specifically.
I see. And so I want to also just get a little more clarification on is that so obviously from this demo, I was actually curious, is there actually going to be a dating sim aspect to this visual novel at all or not? And I guess you already answered that there is a dating sim aspect to it. But I'm also curious, will there be a path, and you'll see what I mean here, will there be a path where you don't have to fall in love with any of the wrestlers at all. Is that a possible path, or is that you're not able to elaborate on that actually?
No, I actually can, because that was one thing I was very vocal about in promoting the game in person at places like WrestleCon. We wanted to offer these alternatives where it wouldn't be a traditional romantic route. The only reason why that has been somewhat backpedaled on is because, again, just thinking about the emotional investment that players are going to have by that point, because you saw how long you ran with that demo. Like the average clock time of that demo, start to finish with barely any stops, is roughly 70 minutes. So like we're talking almost like a feature length.
Yeah,
that's just partial chapters. That's not even the full chapter.
Yep. And I went 3 hours because I turned that into a freaking director's commentary.
Which, again, that's one of the things I love about this format and why we encourage people to play it live, especially with others, because it's such a flexible experience. You can, you can just do a simple read through, or you could go super in depth and just turn it into hours of content. Because again, we're streamers ourselves. We know what's up. So going back to your original question, so imagine you've played, let's be generous here and say maybe like 15 to 20 hours of this story over multiple days or weeks. You get to the ending, you are so invested in like this one character. You literally fell in love with this character. You want to like see the relationship, finally be like canonized. And then you just give each other a high five and say, "Oh, we're best friends." I see a lot of players being super deflated by that. So it's like, all right, we'll meet you halfway. One of the consistent things in the epilogues, you get to see the lifelong friendships that are going to be formed. That's kind of our mid ground. So you will befriend people in a certain way that is very different from the traditional visual novel, especially like a harem anime setup. You would think, oh, it's going to be one of those kinds. Absolutely not. It is a very, very different kind of story we're telling. And the self-awareness we put into the story really reflects that. It's just like, oh, you expect us to go this way because, you've watched a bunch of harem anime? Well, surprise, we're not telling that story. So, we're going to swerve you, bro.
So obviously the main cast, the main ensemble is majority, in fact, all of them are females, but you wouldn't necessarily call this a harem anime-inspired visual novel at all, I suppose.
Based on how we're treating the setup, yeah, because like harem, when I think of a harem anime, it's got a certain vibe to it, and that vibe is very distinctly missing here because we're not going, to put it very bluntly, we're not going the horny route. Yes, we have the lewd humor, the innuendo, because it's going to be there, and it's just a part of the
faces. Butts on butts, butts on
or
more butts.
For example, the in the scene where you get your gear for the first time, and Aerie is giving you that face, and I'm glad a lot of players have picked up on that face, like the dialogue where the main character is just like, she is just checking out the gear, right? Right? She's not checking me out in any other way. So like obviously we lean into that for humor. But it's not like the same way you'd lean into fan service in like a harem anime. So we're being very careful not to go like that route, because that's not the story we're trying to tell. We're using the framework of a traditional dating sim visual novel just as like a convenient narrative shorthand. But we're not telling that kind of story. There are elements of it because of how the setup is, but it's not that kind of story.
Okay, no, understand. So I hope you understand my perspective on this. As someone who is an IRL wrestler, I've been in multiple locker rooms across the different countries, and the reason why I asked this specific question is because this is referring obviously to dating in the locker room, essentially, and how that can be. That can be a little tricky and stuff. Obviously, in the WWE, for instance, just to give a little bit of context, there are many people who in WWE, in that life in WWE, you are almost more gypsy than a pro wrestler actually. the only people that you're going to be seeing all the time are going to be your fellow pro wrestlers. So dating in, let's say, inside in a huge corporation like WWE, AEW, New Japan, never mind. They are going to be. So you're only going to see your fellow wrestler, and when incredibly hot and attractive people are around each other, stuff will happen, and many couples are quite public about this, and from what I can see, that they have a whole system to check and balance this sort of a thing. In a more independent,
Johnny TV and Taya Valkyrie just celebrated their anniversary, I think yesterday.
Exactly.
They've been married for a while, so
Exactamundo. But unfortunately, things are a lot less regulated in the independent wrestling scene, where and unfortunately, I have seen real life examples of that sort of a thing not going the right way, and I'm not going to elaborate more about that. But I think Mario, you get what I mean, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the workplace romance situation. The only difference is your workplace is a wrestling ring, and y'all are already basically in your underwear.
and y'all are, and there's also this whole factor that you are essentially touching your colleagues all the time, essentially, and stuff will happen. I'm just curious, will that sort of thing aspect actually be explored in KOKORO no Pro actually, or how so?
No, that's actually a great question. And while you were talking, I was thinking about another thing that makes this particular story so unique. So because it's not a traditional pro wrestling locker room, it still is going to have like that high school slice of life anime aspect to it. So a lot is going to be taking place more so outside the ring than it will be in it. Like anything in the ring, it's going to be for like particular story beats, particular moments in the narrative. But it's the slice of life stuff that, especially in Core 2, we're going to be exploring a lot more. There's plenty of that in Core 1. Like no one even you get little teases of the wrestling stuff in the chapters leading up to Chapter 7, but Chapter 7 is the first time we get like actual wrestling. We get glimpses, and even like one of our favorite promo images, the image of the collar and elbow tie up with Angelica and Kenzie. That's one of the few times we get like some legit wrestling showcased in any way, shape, or form prior to Chapter 7. It's more about like the slice of life for long stretches of the story. So that like this backstage stuff, that's one of the things that I'm gonna say to be determined, because that's more Core 2 stuff that we haven't gotten around to like actually sitting down and writing, but obviously we've been laying down the outlines for, laying down the plans for. So anything like that. Actually, wait, I just realized. Right. One of the later chapters. That's all I'm going to leave you with.
Okay.
Never mind.
Interesting.
One of the later chapters, except I will say it's not from the wrestling locker room perspective. It's very much like high school slice of life stuff. That's the best way I can describe it. So that's how that sort of thing will be approached, if that helps at all.
So it does seem like that you are almost like combining like a high school visual novel conventions with a pro wrestling convention, and you combine the two, eh?
You nailed it. And that's also why I keep saying like this would very easily translate to an anime. And to kind of pull back the curtain a bit without getting into too much specificity, we've regularly said that in general marketing that we have an anime pitch booklet available, because we have legitimately pitched this even in its infancy to major streamers for anime adaptation, because of how cleanly it can translate into an anime.
Yeah. Many visual novels have become anime, right? I believe.
Precisely. Like some of the most famous, the Fate series, Higurashi, or just the When They Cry metaverse, I guess you could say. Those are some very, very famous examples of things that have transcended the visual novel format into legendary anime.
Ooh, that'll be awesome.
And actually, that addresses something that I don't remember if it was one of your comments. I know certainly somebody else brought it up. there was a comment about, oh, it'd be so cool if you guys could get like, animatics or like little cutscenes of certain things, and I'm like, well, first off, I would love to have the budget for that, and second off, if we had an anime adaptation of this very same story, a lot of the events that are being presented as monologue, as narration, as stills, you'd be seeing a completely different side of that in an anime, because the way that medium works, we can actually play things out. Like the promos in the tag team match, that would not be narration in an anime. We would actually get to hear Kenzie cut the promo. We'd get to see June become Hanya. We would get to see the elaborate entrance of Mascara Angelica. That would actually play out in real time and not as the MC's monologue, because we would be flipping the script, so to speak, to adapt for an anime. So stuff like that, we would be able to pull off in that format a lot easier, because we would have the resources and the, I guess you could say, the storytelling format available to be able to do those things.
Quick fantasy casting. If you could get any voice actress to voice Mascara and Angelica, who would it be?
I laugh because I actually have like a full cast list, and I've been playing it very close to the chest for a lot of reasons. But you know what? What the hell? This one's an easy one. That would be Christina V, who you may know from many video games and anime, as well as the voice of Miraculous Ladybug.
Ooh, Christina
No
V.
questions asked. She is my top choice for Mascara Angelica.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's very, very cool. Really interesting to hear that you're going that you also sort of, if possible, setting this up for maybe an anime thing in the future. That would be wow. That would be wild indeed. Wait. One more fantasy casting thing. One more fantasy casting.
Sure.
If you could get any pro wrestler to voice in this in the anime, if it were to ever happen, who would it be, and for what sort of character, if not one of the main ensembles?
Ooh. What kills me, there is a character we have not introduced in either the demo or like in the story proper, because we haven't gotten to that character yet, but we tease them. I know exactly who it is, but if I mention who it is, it's going to totally spoil the impact of that character.
Ooh.
I will say, it is a very well-known Japanese pro wrestler.
Okay, say no more.
And in this perfect world, we would have them voice the character in the Japanese version of the show.
Oh yeah, there's also that aspect. Oh my god! Imagine if you could get like Joshi Puroresu as part of the voiceover cast. That would be bonkers. Oh my god! Imagine if
again, you don't understand how prepared I am for this. I actually have not just the English Dreamcast list, but I may also have a Japanese Dreamcast list
absolutely.
as well.
I mean, Joshi Puroresu is incredible, and I'm sure that if there's an opportunity, why the freaking not? Like people like. Imagine if like Shirakawa Mina voicing
oh my god,
characters or something like that. That'd be insane. Yeah.
Oh, since we're talking pure fantasy, she is not on my list, so I have no qualms about putting this out there, because I think I have a different Japanese. Well, I certainly have the English voice actor pegged for this character, but Japanese seiyuu. If we could get Maki Ito as Misa Ray, I think RJ and I would just like collectively have our heads explode.
Wait, Maki Ito as who? Maki Ito's who?
As Misa Ray, aka Usagi Mask.
Oh my god!
You know Maki Ito, so you can understand where we're coming from here.
Okay.
Low key, like as you get to meet more of or get to know Misa a lot more, you'll understand. Like even though this wasn't the original intention when we were, starting the script and when RJ was conceiving the character, she's low-key become our Maki Ito.
Oh my god.
Like she like if we could get Maki Ito to do her Japanese dub, oh my god,
insane.
that'd be amazing.
Oh, yeah. Fun fact, I seem to be doing a lot of that tonight. Maki Ito wrestled in Malaysia at one point.
Hell yeah, cutest in the world.
It's actually insane. Actually, we're living in a very interesting time where I don't know if it's because of the Japanese yen. I don't know if they're looking at more opportunities overseas, but a lot of Japanese wrestlers are starting to explore the Southeast Asian wrestling scene, seeing as there's a lot of us in there's a lot of like literally most of the Southeast Asian countries, and I'm speaking about Southeast Asia in general, just because we sort of operate like a bit like North America in the sense that this is our whole region. So I'm speaking very much in general here. So yeah, most of the Southeast Asian countries have indie wrestling promotions, ranging from Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines. I think those are the ones that have it. So that's a surprising number there. So a lot of the Japanese wrestlers, well, we are sort of neighboring countries after all, so they are exploring these sort of places. So that's really interesting, actually. That so the number of my degrees of separation to Maki Ito actually is like by one actually. Like, I've met her in person before in a meet and greet.
Oh yeah, no. RJ actually got photos with her at WrestleCon last year.
Sweet.
Yeah, I passed by her table. But because I was in like business mode, I was just like, no, do not approach. You will fanboy. Just don't do it.
Oh my god.
But yeah,
we
we are part of the Ito Respect Army over
Dude,
here at Digital
it's
Era
been a really
Entertainment.
interesting time because like people like El Fantasma, he wrestled in Thailand recently. Zack Sabre Jr. wrestled against my friend Jake De Leon in Philippines recently. So you see what I mean here? So I'm not even BSing here. This is a real tangible thing to get all these dream matches coming about in my part of the world that never had wrestling 10 years ago. There was no such thing as pro wrestling all in 10 years ago, which is why I'm so like this game is like, this is like my world come to life, you know. And that's
for real. Yeah. Like, and it's funny you mentioned, like 10 years ago, it's just even pro wrestling culture 10 years ago was just so different.
Yes.
And like all the things that have happened, not just in pro wrestling, but like in greater anime and gaming culture, have really created kind of a perfect storm these past few years for a project like KOKORO no Pro. Like I wasn't even like, I barely even knew what New Japan was 10 years ago, because it wasn't until like late 2016, early 2017 that I really started paying attention, during that boom period for New Japan. And yet here we are, talking about all this stuff like it's just no big deal. It is wild. It is wild. Like being a pro wrestling fan these days, especially a pro wrestling fan who loves Japanese culture, especially the pop culture through anime, and then gaming, and just watching this melting pot and all these things come together. It's been so fascinating.
It really has. I've been saying this. I've been saying this for a while now, and espousing it for a while now. There is no better time to be a pro wrestling fan than now. There's just endless options, all sorts of different things that happens, not just that goes beyond just what happens in kayfabe actually, and what happened, and also things that hits closer to home. My own country having independent wrestling, it's almost unthinkable, but it is a real thing, and stuff. To see someone like freaking Dante Chen in NXT doing so well for himself, it's been really inspiring, really interesting. Actually, I'm just curious, will we see that sort of those sort of themes of unlikely wrestling, of wrestling in the most unlikely of places being played out in KOKORO no Pro? Actually,
I mean, by default, like just look at the base story. I mean, of course, as we have in that one line that I'm glad it resonates so well, about wrestling in high school gyms, bingo halls, and armories.
Oh my god, yeah, that hits.
Yeah, besides leaning into. Oh, I'm sorry, you first.
Yeah, dude, like yesterday, I was wrestling in an indoor soccer stadium. Yeah, my training center is like literally right next to it, so we moved our ring right into the middle of the indoor soccer stadium, because house shows, baby, house shows.
Yep. So like I know that so the reason I say this, I know that a high school gym to us who are in the wrestling world, that's no big deal, because indie shows work school gyms all the time. but for the average anime fan or casual wrestling fan who only knows like WWE, like that's the only wrestling they watch. For them, that's already going to be weird. It's like, wait, they're doing wrestling in a high school gym. It's like, let me show you all the indies like ever. And actually, a quick side note, this is a weirdly personal thing for me because going back to those high school years, I glossed over while giving my general introduction. Part of how I learned about things like highspots.com and gear wrestling or wrestling gear sites like that was in my senior year in a very Mascara Angelica-esque twist, which is also why, like, when writing her, I have these moments where I'm like, oh my God, she is literally me channeling my high school self. I legit at one point considered putting on a wrestling show. I researched like where to get a ring, where to get gear. I had a bunch of friends who were willing to do it, even though we were like super untrained. It was gonna be like the most backyard thing ever. But I was considering it in my senior year of high school, which is why the narrative of KOKORO no Pro, when we started actually working on it, really resonated with me personally, because it's not a story I generally share, because it was just one of those like flights of fancy in a year where there were a lot of flights of fancy that never materialized. But it's a very specific one that has come back through this art that takes on a whole new meaning now. So yeah, I was also almost one of those people who put up a wrestling show in a high school gym. They never would have approved it, by the way. Like, unlike Shinshoku High, which, as we will learn, they're a very unique high school. But the school that I went to, which is where I met Neo Ivan, for the record. Like, we're high school buddies. He was 2 years my senior, so he is my senpai essentially. Like, that school never would have approved this. Like, the most we got away with were those open mic cosplay wrestling promos. that was all we could get away with. But yeah, so I'm sorry.
Will we see those sort of like cosplay mic events in KOKORO no Pro actually? Will that?
Not necessarily, because since we're having them do like legitimate pro wrestling shows, it's gonna feel more like actual pro wrestling shows. Just they're in high school. That's the only thing. So it's gonna be a more traditional pro wrestling experience as opposed to just like a bunch of cosplayers.
Gotcha. Actually, let's pivot a little bit to some of the main characters actually in KOKORO no Pro. There's been an eclectic bunch, clearly covering different aspects of pro wrestling, as we can see. We got the shy one that becomes that puts on the kaiju outfit. We've got the small mean girl who becomes the bunny superhero, and then we have the daughter of a pro wrestler. And with that one, obviously, as a fellow pro wrestler who has seen a whole myriad of second-gen wrestlers coming into the WWE these days, that particularly piqued my interest. Are any of them like particularly inspired by any specific pro wrestler or that sort of a thing, or maybe even anime characters?
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny that I use the term absolutely, since it begins with abs. So let's start with the character who all the ab budget went to, and that is of course Emilia, who she's been very popular. people like their I'm using the term that has been used. I would not describe her this way. They like their muscle mommy. Yes, they do. So Emilia, as you noted, and even caught very appropriately in the playthrough, she is the daughter of a famous German wrestler who is obviously very clearly modeled off of Volta or Gunther, if we're going by his WWE name. So she is very much modeled as like what would be the ultimate second gen wrestler. So like her it's more so her father that we based someone off of, because obviously we took Volter as the template for him. We're hoping to show him on screen. This is not a big spoiler, it's because he's mentioned so prominently. We are hoping to show him on screen, and I am sure we're going to go with like an OG Volter design as the basis for the character. And again, like being in his presence physically during those days left a big impression on me. And it's something that I'm glad we're able to kind of express through there. For other characters who are more directly based off of actual wrestlers, this is going to come as no surprise, and also probably tell you a lot about them in general, which you can kind of pick up based on chapter 7, but you'll really get as you play through the whole story. Kenzie and June are respectively based off of Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi, which is hilarious because as RJ likes to say, as RJ likes to say, the American character based off a Canadian.
Oh, I did not realize that Casey. Oh, okay, now I see it. Oh, I did not realize that.
We're very on the nose, even like the finger guns. Like, yeah. Her whole motif is really like a Bullet Club leader amalgam. So there are elements of AJ Styles, elements of Prince Devitt, but she is predominantly the Kenny Omega analog. And then June, Kota Ibushi's design really informed her, and the fact that she wrestles in a kaiju motif, that's also a real life nod to Kota Ibushi's enthusiasm for kaiju. He wrestled in Kaiju Big Battle after years of teasing it. He was in a low budget monster film called Kaiju Mono, which also features Minoru Suzuki playing the same character as when he has like an evil face.
He did. Oh my god.
Yeah, and RJ is pointing out that June's was like an accident, but we just leaned into it. Yeah, because he wanted a shy girl story that just kind of turned into Ibushi. It's just like, well, yeah, let's just go with it. Let's just do this.
Oh my god! Please tell me that at one point, like there's like a whole cross-play thing going on with June. Because at one point, I don't know if you noticed, but Ibushi, I think at one point he was in a game show, in a Japanese game show, and they get weird. At one point, they dressed up Ibushi as a girl.
All I'm gonna say is it's funny you mentioned cosplay and June in the same sentence. That isn't related to her kaiju gimmick. That is the only tease I'm giving you there.
Okay, I need to be careful what I say.
It's a core 2 thing. Don't worry about it.
I swear I'm not leaking anything, guys. I'm not leaking anything. I'm just that deep in the wrestling rabbit hole. Okay.
Oh no, it's fine. Like this is. I'm loving this because we rarely get the opportunity to even like do these teases in this kind of environment to get people like more hyped to understand why we're so gung-ho about getting the funding, not just for core 1 but for like core 2, so that we can jump right into that, because there's all this stuff that we're just sitting on. It's like we want to share it so badly. But budget.
yeah.
Let's see who else. As was called out actually in one of the streams that happened yesterday, and I know you brought it up, and I fed additional information from the chat. The character of Shinigami, as RJ pointed out in yesterday's stream, and as others called out, very influenced by La Parka, famous lucha libre wrestler who also is known to American audiences. Elements of Penta El Zero, aka Pentagon Jr. So her visual aesthetic pulls from that. Her wrestling persona, and even just like what we're going to discover about her later in the story, is going to be completely different from what was originally conceived. But I actually find that to be a huge plus, because it's going to make certain character elements of her really resonate better once we get to know her more. But for the initial vibe, like if you thought La Parka when you're seeing Shinigami, bingo bango, that's what RJ was going for. Oh yeah, and also some members of Los Ingobernables de Japón. So there's a lot of LIJ in there as well. Respect to Tetsuya Naito. Let's see. I'm trying to think which other characters have like very directly wrestling influences. Is
Mascara and Helica directly based on anyone actually?
I think she's just more of an original character. RJ, you can correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but my understanding is, she was more of just like an original amalgamation
Hold up a little bit. RJ wrote here, Sanada, Naito, Evil, and is El Desperado? No, he is not part of Los Ingobernables. No, I know he looks it. I'm I'm putting on RJ on blast here a little bit, just because this is a thing. In case if it's not obvious, El Desperado is my guy, okay? So I would definitely know if he is part of LIJ or not. And unfortunately, there has been no indication or clue or foreshadowing at all, currently at least, that he is. I mean, yes, just because he has a mask, that doesn't necessarily mean he's part of LIJ. Even though, let's face it, that's a lot of people's fantasy booking with SP.
And then, of course, Evil now running House of Torture, which I've got feelings on, but we'll leave that. Yeah, okay, so RJ pointing out in the chat, Angelica, has Rey Mysterio, El Santo influence. So, like I said, like some of the archetypal luchadors of all time, like legit goats. So she is like the embodiment of what people would think of when they think of lucha libre.
I'm going to mention one thing, and I want to get your one quick reaction from you from it. Can be one word or a few words. Let's just see if you know what it means. If not, I'll say the English translation for it. Let's see if I can get this correct. If I'm saying this correct, luchas de apuestas.
Luchas de apuestas. Isn't that like the stakes match, like
yes.
where it's usually mask or mask hair or whatever?
Yes.
Okay. What about them?
What's your reaction when I say mask versus hair in relation to Mascara and Angelica?
That ain't happening. That's for sure.
I had to just drop that just a little bit. For those that know, know. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's good that you bring that up, and I'll elaborate for part of why that was a good question. So again, as mentioned, the lucha de apuesta, that's it's a wagering match essentially, a gambling match, if you will, where you either give up your hair or give up your mask. With Mascara Angelica, Mil Máscaras, also very important to mention there as like an influence. Thank you for that, RJ. We are going out of our way to try and keep her as mysterious as possible. Like we're still actually there's maybe like one point where we might actually see her without the mask. That is how hard we're going to make it for people to see that. So there is a very, very high likelihood that we are only really just going to see at most teases of Mascara Angelica's actual face, unless you go down a very particular route.
So a true El Santos vibes.
Oh hell yeah! Like she lives the gimmick.
I'm using the word El Hijo de Santos. What's the female version of that?
Hijo de Santos, so son of Santo.
Yeah, but she's like the dot. So I'm suggesting that she's like the daughter of Santos.
So, I think that would be Hija. So yeah, daughter Hija de Santos.
So she's a real Hija de Santos type. I'm not saying that she's the daughter of Santos. I'm saying that's the vibe.
Exactly, because we're gonna learn more about her character, like who she is, like beyond Mascara Angelica. But as for like living the gimmick, she lives the gimmick. That much is very apparent in the early chapters of KOKORO no Pro. That actually leads to a scene that I hope will be very poignant for anyone who's been bullied for liking anything nerdy in general, or in this case it's like pro wrestling stuff, but in general, like there's a scene that I hope will resonate for people who have been there and done that, because like that's kind of the price that she pays living the gimmick, especially in high school. Like if you really process that, like imagine it's like your first day of school and then you got this person showing up in a friggin' luchador mask and then they never take it off.
Oh, actually,
and you think, oh, it's just like for the day, right? No, they like show up every day wearing their mask to school.
I've got like a two-part thing going on here, so I'll just try to cover the first part first. So obviously we got Mascara Angelica, who's very much living the mask gimmick, and then we have Emilia, the daughter of a wrestler who I'm supposing is brought up in the business. Will we see this sort of a thing where we see will KOKORO Pro explore like the clash of opinions in professional wrestling? Because as crazy and wacky as professional wrestling is, and as fun as it is, there are a lot of clashing opinions on how pro wrestling is presented and the different styles, different mentalities on it. Will we see that in KOKORO Pro?
That's a great question. You're not going to see so much a philosophical debate on the different styles and how best to present it. It's more so going to be just the overall clash, which is made very apparent at the end of the demo of, you know, the appropriateness of pro wrestling and the good and bad things that come with pro wrestling. I like to constantly refer to the documentary series The Dark Side of the Ring, and when I've even been describing, like, you know, how far does our content go in terms of like what would be a rating, it's like, well, if you've seen an episode of Dark Side of the Ring, that's like the closest we would get to like content levels, and those are rated TV 14 here in the United States. And I would say they actually say and depict worse things than we're probably going to be depicting in KOKORO Pro, even at its darkest and its most
Dark Side of the Ring gets. You say it's TV 14, but based on the content of that alone, from that alone, it gets. And that's actually a good follow-up to actually something I want to also
great
ask actually.
Perfect.
Which is unfortunately things like Dark Side of the Ring, the many documentaries on the downfalls of many pro wrestlers, the film The Wrestler. There's unfortunately a lot of tragedies.
Great film, by the way. It is a crime that is not more readily available on streaming or on a modern disc format.
Yes. Oh, and of course the more recent Iron Claw. Again, like tragedy and pro wrestling.
Fantastic film.
Yes, they go hand in hand because let's face it, pro wrestling is sometimes indescribably dangerous. We put our lives on the line. I shouldn't elaborate on what happened last night with some stuff. It can be incredibly risky. There's a lot of risks that come with it, even outside of the pro wrestling itself. The training is incredibly grueling. Will we explore some of the darker side of wrestling in KOKORO? It seems like a lighthearted thing so far, but again,
I am so glad that you outright asked this question so that I didn't have to volunteer it. That's actually part of that is part of why I was so excited to talk about some of the epilogues in particular, because we are going to be exploring those elements. Like, yes, it is still going to be like predominantly a lighthearted romp. It is still supposed to be a wrestling fantasy story, if you will, but it would be, I guess you could say, irresponsible to not deal with the proverbial dark side of the ring. In the epilogues, some of the what would be considered, you know, like the bad endings, they're going to be rough. I'm not going to lie. And part of it, I'm not going to lie, some of them I wrote after watching a couple of episodes of Dark Side of the Ring, catching up on seasons I had missed. So it's gonna get a little rough emotionally, but that's because they need to be. They're not just like slice of life stories. They're also portraying some of the more unfortunate parts of professional wrestling. Even, we talk about this in the character brief for Nora, the student council president. She hates wrestling because of what it did to her family. We're going to find out more about that as the story goes on. So we're not going to shy away from like the dark side of the ring, because again, that it's not just irresponsible to just portray all the good without the bad, but from a just general narrative perspective, it also makes things more interesting to kind of remind you that like there is the light, but there is also the dark, not just in the ring, but outside of it. And it makes for a more compelling slice of life story outside the ring when you see the impact that it can have.
I have actually, whenever anyone asks me, let's say on stream, especially, hey, how do I become a pro wrestler? My first thing that I would say is, and I think I even have it as a text on my stream sometimes. It is don't. That is the first thing I say. The first thing I say. Okay.
I was literally going to joke about that. I didn't realize that was how you actually do it.
Yeah,
verbatim. I was gonna say, how do you get into pro wrestling? Don't.
Yeah, it's just as someone who's been doing this for years, as someone who's also pivoting into VTubing because of I guess I can also elaborate about this now. Actually, and that's a good time. One of the reasons why I've pivoted a good bit into VTubing is because I suffered a pretty severe injury that has left me with chronic injury. Actually, due to pro wrestling, actually. And yes, I did wrestle a match last night still, because I'm a stubborn son of a and luckily I know how to take care of myself, and I know how to adapt to things and be smart about this. I say that, but I jumped off the top rope last night. But yeah, it's there are some real consequences to be had with doing this. So I literally will say don't, first and foremost, and then I'll go on a little bit of a tirade on why it's like dangerous, blah 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 blah. And if you're still stubborn about this, okay, then maybe we can have a talk. Maybe. Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, here's the gym I train at. Let's go.
Yep.
Let's go do some bumps.
Yeah, it's pretty ironic actually. I say all that, but I will sometimes advertise on come for our tryouts and all that jazz, because how else are we gonna keep that in the business of floating? Yeah, so there's that
exactly.
There's that dichotomy to juggle. So something that I do say to the trainees pretty often actually is that pro wrestling is the ultimate escape from reality, but joining and training in pro wrestling is the ultimate wake-up call from your fantasies, because again, and you've seen this firsthand before, I'm sure, Mario, there can be some unfortunate things that can happen behind the locker room, in the training center, whether it's something you control or not control. And I'm quite glad to hear, and a little bit nervous now to see the darker aspects in KOKORO Pro, because unfortunately the dark side of wrestling can go as it gets real dark.
Oh no, I mean, this is not so much a full spoiler, but just enough of a tease to give you an idea of like how committed I'm planning to be on these epilogues. And again, a lot of this is subject to change because this is like the tail end of the story. We still have core 2 to work through. This is just like our reference points. But assuming nothing changes drastically between this interview and when the final game goes out there and ships, one of the endings, because I've given titles to each of them just to keep them straight for our internal purposes, is literally called Dark Side of the Ring. That one was hard to write. Like it was emotionally draining, and even rereading it, it's just like, it gets, some of these are going to get rough, and that one in particular, because it deals with like in-ring stuff, especially if you're committed to certain characters. It's just going to be a hard read. And it's on purpose. It's meant to be like, a very emotional bad end that you get to. But it's gonna be rough. Like, it's gonna be rough.
Ooh, dang. Yeah, so I was really wondering actually, because the game for the most part does look pretty bright and cheery and almost inspiring, like so this will be interesting. Indeed,
and ultimately that's the main thing we want to focus on. Like, I'm talking about all this other stuff because I'm trying to make it clear that this isn't going to be like a very, pardon the pun, two-dimensional cookie cutter happy-go-lucky dating sim wrestling fantasy. No, there is plenty of that. But also like, we give it some resonance. It's going to have substance to it, because go back to RJ's original idea. He wanted to have like a fun, fluffy wrestling dating sim. It's like, this is going to be fun, this is going to be bright, this is going to be cheerful, it's going to be inspiring, and that is going to be like the main through line of the overall presentation. It's just, since we have this canvas to paint on, this storytelling method, because that's another thing that I love about the fact that we're telling this as a visual novel game with options. we can still tell what is essentially the canon story. Like there's a main canon through line that if we were to adapt it for the anime I was talking about, it would be easy to just like say, okay, just take this storyline and adapt it. But having these other options, we get to explore some of these things that, you know, would go off the beaten path for most players, people who might want to see, whether, you know, out of genuine curiosity or morbid curiosity, like the dark side of the ring. We get that flexibility in this format, and that's one of the more exciting things. So like on the surface, yeah, enjoy your wrestling waifu federation. enjoy your immersive kind of a harem anime, but not because that's not the story we're telling here. You know, ship your favorite waifus. That is a-okay. That is all part of the main on the box experience. But if you want to also get the substance, yeah, we got that. You're gonna have to make some choices, but we got that. So that's what's going to make this a lot more fun once we can get more of the story out there into the world. That's part of why it's just killing me sitting on some of these epilogues. Like RJ has seen most of the epilogues that have been written. One of them I am deliberately holding back from him because it's so rough. I haven't even looked back at it since I wrote it.
I see.
So it gets rough in some of these epilogues. So the emotional damage is going to be very, very high.
I know there's the whole meaning of emotional damage. I can say that because I'm Asian. Okay?
And that's why I'm not saying it. I can play the Hispanic card on a lot of things. That is not one of them.
Let's pivot away a little bit from the darker aspects of this game, because again, the two of us, we've lived through the shit. It's a bottomless pit sometimes. But also,
I freely admit, like I had it super easy. Like I didn't see the worst stuff, thank God. But I've been, you know, privy to it. I've gotten it either secondhand or just seen like little glimpses from a comfortable distance.
Oh, man,
so it's like I get it, I get it, and I'm glad that, you know, I was only there for like a year and I didn't get the worst of it. I got lucky in that regard.
Understood.
But yes, please continue. I'm so sorry.
I'm also curious, like how deep are you going to go into the wrestling? As in, will there be moments where we actually see the wrestlers actually talk about putting on a match? We see the in-depth discussions about wrestling, because let's face it, wrestlers are low-key just gigantic geeks with muscles, you know. So we get we get real in-depth with techniques, with concepts, structure, and the whole culture of it. Will we really delve? How deep are you gonna get into this actually?
I would say pretty deep, but from a cursory level. Allow me to explain. All the stuff you're talking about, we are going to portray it, but it's from what I remember of the earlier chapters, because some of them I haven't taken a look at in a minute for obvious reasons. We've been so focused on like our demo build. But there are moments in the earlier chapters when, you know, you're learning stuff as the MC where a lot of what you just described is kind of described as the narration, just like the MC reacting to, oh, this is what we worked on in training today, or oh, you know, they're talking about this thing for the match. So you're gonna get elements of that, but it's not gonna be as like in depth. It's not gonna be like lines of dialogue specific, if that makes sense.
Okay, gotcha. I understood. And also, I guess I am also curious. So right now, what is so the Kickstarter I see is on the way now. How's the Kickstarter been progressing for you guys?
Admittedly, I was hoping we'd be a lot farther by now, because we ended up with nearly 10K at the end of the first campaign. We were hoping that we would have a lot more of a return from that first campaign to kind of like get us, you know, off to a rolling start for the second one. We did get over half, I think, of our original backing, you know, coming back in, but it's been a very slow start, and I'm just being very real here because of how passionate everyone who has been playing this demo over the past week has been. It's been a little frustrating, you know, seeing us once again having to, you know, claw and scrape when very clearly we have something that is resonating very deeply with people, including people who either don't know professional wrestling at all, or just have like these loose ties to it, or a general appreciation for it as a fan. Even seeing like the reactions from the stream that we had yesterday, just watching scene by scene as the new characters were coming up, and watching the streamers who, despite one of them approaching me to ask if they could feature it, they had no clue going into anything. Watching the natural reactions to the characters as they showed up, watching the reactions to, you know, the big cliffhanger at the end of the demo. It's just like these natural reactions confirm that we have a good product. We have something that is going to resonate the way that I am constantly hyping it up that it will. But for some reason, it's just not coming through in the Kickstarter marketing, and it's so frustrating because, for all intents and purposes, we probably should have been like cruising past our base goal for round 2 by now, especially with all the changes made, because we listened to all the feedback that came in. Like, the only feedback that we couldn't really listen to for a practical reason was having a more in-depth story trailer, and that's because our demo is the only thing that is really publicly presentable in real time. I cleaned up a few scenes just to get like little clips for the trailer that we have, which existed in the early versions of the teaser. But to really showcase the game, we need to outsource a trailer, and we do not have enough to do that with. And frankly, to make that outreach and expense, I would like to at least have a finished UI. Like, we're deliberately using just stock Ren'Py because we want people to just see the artwork. We want them to read the story. We want them to know that we are telling a competent story and get them invested in it. And although the window dressing of things like, a UI, we'll get to it when we got the budget and extra help. That is secondary, because our bread and butter is the art and the story, and that is resonating so deeply with people. So that's why it's like a little frustrating that we haven't gotten farther along, especially on the reroll, because we listened. We put in all the stuff that people wanted last time. We took out all the stuff people didn't like last time. We've added in something which we didn't even think of for the first campaign, because it came up, funny enough, because of a purchase RJ made at WrestleCon, of all things, which low-key turned into a promo tool for us, namely the Ita bag that we're offering as an add-on for regular backers, and at a special tier, which, this is a quick aside, but you'll appreciate this. The $500 backer tier that we have there, appropriately titled, all about that bag. Obviously, like, in the copy, I try to have like little winks and nudges to either other pieces of pop culture or wrestling culture. I originally phrased it as something to the effect of, like, the most carny of workers. Oh my God. I was like, I know that it's used as a general like joke term, but I also don't know if anyone outside the wrestling sphere would be super offended by that, because it's one of those terms that's like, some people find it pretty offensive. Some people just are like, oh, it's a haha funny thing. So I was like, let me just play it safe. But that was the joke there, because a lot of there are those very, as we say, carny workers who are just in it for the money, like not in a normal healthy way of, oh yes, I would like to be fairly compensated for throwing myself through a table, please. But it's just like, they just show up, get paid, leave. They hustle in a way that is very apparent that it's like they're here for that bag. So the Ita bag. Sorry, sidetracked myself to put in just a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge for you, since you understood this. The Ita bag became like a thing that we added on for campaign 2, because one of RJ's friends is a crafter, and we did this with their blessing. In fact, I actually asked him to reach out to them to be our supplier for the bags, to do them a solid. They were like, oh yeah, no, I'm happy to, like, you guys do your thing. Like, I just, can't help you with that. So I'm like, okay, fair play. So he was using one of their bags with a promotional flyer that was folded up and put into the window. And when he was walking around the WrestleCon floor to not only talk to talents that we were trying to reach out to, but also just, like, get some visibility, people were coming up, eye catch was the bag. And then it got him into conversations about Kokoro no Pro. So we thought, oh, that's kind of a cool thing, since we're also offering keychains and the like, things you would put in an Ita bag. And that's right, this came up in your stream, funny enough, so this is a great opportunity to address it. When the main character is about to come out, and we talk about there not being a championship on the line, you're like, wait, do they have a high school title belt? The Corazon de Lucha that we do use as the basis of the bag, and which is something we offer for our highest tier. We actually talked to a professional belt manufacturer at WrestleCon. They do stuff for NWA, so we're not just gonna go to like eBay and just slap a Kokoro no Pro logo on. It's like, we're legit. If someone drops $10,000 on our game, we're going to talk to the people who do the belts for National Wrestling Alliance. Would you like to elaborate on that for anyone who might not be familiar? Because I feel like you would have a field day with this.
Wait, elaborate
before
on
I go
what
on.
exactly? Sorry?
On what the NWA is?
Yeah, just give a quick description. Why not? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm giving you the honors.
Oh, great. Oh, man. Okay. I'm a nerd, but I'm not sure if I'm that deep of a nerd into this. Okay. The NWA is, and you have to correct me if I'm wrong here.
Yeah, sure.
Is one of like the oldest American wrestling promotions, one of the most esteemed. Many great wrestlers have held this championship that has been the NWA championship that has been lovingly nicknamed the was it 10 pounds of gold or 5 pounds?
I think it's 10 pounds of gold.
I don't do pounds. I'm
pretty sure it's 10 pounds of gold. Yeah.
Okay, yes, it's okay, 10 pounds of gold, and so it's held by people like most significantly, I suppose, in the modern era, Nick Aldis, who's currently
the national treasure.
The national treasure, who's currently a general freaking manager in WWE right now. What a world. Yeah, so it's sort of like it still carries some weight in fact. The NWA indeed. So to get a belt made by someone who actually has worked with them in NWA is bit of a big deal indeed. And you're gonna offer that as part of the stretch goals? Dang.
Yeah, well, it's like our top our ridiculous tier backer level. So like someone who drops 10K to back us, like one of their trinkets is going to be an actual replica belt made by these belt makers based off of a belt design that will appear in Kokoro no Pro. So it's not present in Core 1. That is not a big spoiler at all, but the Corazon de Lucha is going to be an element in the future of the game. You have to forgive me. Maybe you have to forgive me because I think you might need to explain to me a little bit how this Kickstarter campaign is working. So I see that that this is Kokoro no Pro Core 1, and the goal is 15K USD. So this 15K USD, is that referring to the full game actually, or what is? No, that's part of why we specified. Besides the fact that I couldn't recycle the old page and just like fix it. Core 1. This is to get us our funding to finish Core 1. So again, as I've made very clear, we have a lot of it basically ready to go, but we're missing so many assets because that's where we need budget. Because art ain't cheap. Yep. And spoiler, this is very art heavy. And because of music needs and all that, a lot of that luckily will translate into Core 2 as well. But this is even though it's billed as Core 1, our top stretch goal for this reroll is obviously to get the funding for Core 2, so it is effectively the full game.
So Core 2 will then be if Core 2 is completed, that will be the full game then?
That is correct, yes.
You have to forgive me a little bit. What does core mean here, actually?
So cores, I forget the exact definition, but the way that you can think of it is like Core 1, it's like a set of it's a set of episodes in a season. So like Core 1 is like for example, for an anime, like episodes 1 through 12, that's Core 1 of the anime of a 24 episode series, and then 13 through 24, that's Core 2. So like this is essentially like the first, even though it's a visual novel, like I said, we're presenting it more like an anime. So like this is the first 10 episodes of the anime, and
Oh.
the second core, it's like the back half of the season, including the multiple epilogues, which is
Okay.
for all intents and purposes like the 11th episode of the season.
So say if the goal if the goal is reached, then you are essentially completing like the first half of the anime. Is that what I'm getting?
That's correct. Yes. So that's our base goal. Like, just finish up what we've got. If we have to do another Kickstarter, which God, I hope we don't have to. It's a pain. It is a pain, let me tell you. We'll at least have Core 1 out in the open and see what we can do about Core 2. Obviously, the best case scenario was we just get it in a one and done, and we just work on Core 1, which is mostly ready to go, so we can get it, out in the world a lot sooner, and then we can start working on Core 2 concurrently, and also just roll right into it without having to waste time doing any fundraising or anything like that. We can just get straight to work, cut down the amount of time between what is essentially part 1 of the story and part 2 of the story, because it's all the same story. It's just because of the way we need to break down production, we've had to separate it into 2 parts.
Got you. Staying interesting. So I'm. What was that? What was about the? Oh no, I had a follow-up question that was right at the tip of my tongue, and suddenly it's not there. There's just so many things swirling in my head right now.
Honestly, that's exciting to hear, because like I'm having a blast over here. Like, you just keep it coming.
Oh right, I just remembered. Where are you hoping to once this whole game is completed? Where are you hoping to release this game on?
Wonderful question. So the base release that we are promising, it's of course going to be itch.io and Steam, because we are going to start with a digital release. Our stretch goals, again, teased in the stinger for the demo, because that was using the previous iteration of the Kickstarter as its reference point. We didn't bother changing it because we were just re-rolling right into another one. So it's like, whatever, just keep it the same. We'll fix it in post. So we would ideally like to expand into other digital storefronts. So mainstream consoles. We would love to do ports of the game to mainstream consoles on digital storefronts and physical. I am a big proponent of physical media. I am a junkie for. I don't know if you're familiar with limited run games. Over here in the States, I love picking up their collector's editions and stuff. I was even in talks over the past year with a couple of other indie physical manufacturers, one of which, funny enough, like their storefront is based in New York. Like it was essentially like one of my local game shops back when I was living in New York. They also publish indie games physically. So I was talking with them last year at Anime Expo out here in Los Angeles. There's a couple of other places I would be open to talking to, have published game console ports of other visual novels that we've featured on our own streams at Digital Era. So that's where we'd like to go. And just as a bonus, because it's not in the current Kickstarter, because it was, again, one of the things we removed because of the pushback from the first iteration, we were willing, if we somehow, some way bumbled into a stupid amount of money, and I'm talking like millions of dollars worth of money, we were willing to look into retro console ports, because that for me is like, that would be a badge of honor, because I play a lot of retro stuff. And obviously, pushing 40, I have played multiple generations of these things, and I would love to see this game on older consoles. RJ certainly was vocal about this as well. He's just like, oh my God, it'd be so cool if we could get this or that. And I'm like, I'm right there with you, brother. So the ideal would be to find a way to crunch down the experience. And luckily, if we stay with a visual novel, it will be much easier to pull this off. But turn the game into like a retro port for stuff like, Sega Dreamcast or like Sega Saturn. Because one of my favorite visual novels turned animes of all time, which I only knew about because of the anime first. I didn't know about the visual novel. The anime Comic Party, which was by Aqua Plus, apparently one of their more well-known visual novels. I actually have a Dreamcast copy of it for import, and once I get a Dreamcast back, I'm gonna make sure it can play. It's like, I don't care that I can't read Japanese. I want to play Comic Party on a friggin' Dreamcast, and if I can have Kokoro no Pro on a Dreamcast disc sitting right next to it, let's go. So that again, that is like the ultimate dream port of Kokoro no Pro. But for practical purposes, digital will be first, Steam and itch.io. Whatever digital console storefronts we can port it to, which again was a stretch goal in the previous iteration of the campaign. Still possible if we somehow can crack that 50K stretch goal, because again, our main focus this time is just get the game together. We just want to give you the game, especially after seeing everyone's reactions to that cliffhanger. It's just like, I am so happy you all are so heartbroken and want more, but I also feel terrible that you, and heartbroken myself, that you are all heartbroken and so excited for more. So that's why our focus is more on that than anything else right now.
I am also curious. Let's say hypothetically, that the
Sorry, I have to read this out because I know the exact tone RJ is going with here, because I tortured the poor guy with this at WrestleCon last year when we were watching WrestleMania. KNP on Dreamcast, baby, woo! Making reference to a very obscure Big Show clip from one WrestleMania where he was at the WWE restaurant in New York. WrestleMania, baby, woo! Look up that clip; it's hilarious. It's a good clip. It's a good clip. I'm sorry. Please continue.
Yes. So let's just say hypothetically, obviously you guys are relying on the Kickstarter right now. But say, and
Sure
heaven
are.
forbid, that if it doesn't pull through, will you guys still make other efforts in order to get at least Core 1 up and running in spite of the Kickstarter?
That is correct. I haven't had a chance to go over the entire plan with the Kokoro no Pro team per se to really nail this down, but it should go without saying we're going to try and make every effort we can to somehow make this work, because especially after this past week alone, we have more than enough tangible proof that we have a solid experience that people genuinely want to play more of. So it would be silly to just let it die on the vine because of funding. Like, it will be frustrating as hell because doing this back to back twice, and especially with the feedback from the first one, like one of the compromises we had to make, because you notice this is kind of one of the weird things about it, and this was by design, and I'm just pulling back the curtain here because I feel like this is a good opportunity to be this transparent. You may notice that the Kickstarter page is hosted under my Kickstarter and not Digital Era Entertainment. I was very uncomfortable doing that, but it was out of necessity because of certain payment restrictions they have on the Kickstarter platform that I could not, once you lock it in, it's permanent, no matter what happens with your campaign. And because I want to reserve the Digital Era Entertainment account for a legitimate professional business account, because Digital Era Entertainment, we're a volunteer crew. Like the brand exists in the world because it is a thing I've managed to keep alive for over 20 years. But we are very much not a business because we don't make content that is profitable. We make fan projects. You look at our entire history and some of the projects we've even talked about today, those are things we can't make money off of because they're fan projects. So naturally we don't have, business accounts or anything like that. So I had to basically make the call of, do I go through the trouble of setting all this up and all the hassles that will come from, having to do things on the business side if we fail, or just win, lose, or draw, take it on the chin and just use my personal account? Because I've seen other owners of media companies do this kind of thing where they're using essentially their personal Kickstarter account to host their business's product. Great example, and it's one of the things I've backed, which I'm pretty sure you can actually see, which, by the way, this is another reason I was comfortable ultimately with having my account be the proverbial face of the campaign. I backed the Blu-ray for Otaku no Video, one of my favorite animes of all time.
Hmm.
Are you familiar with Otaku no Video by any chance?
I am not. Please explain.
So it is a work by Studio Gainax.
Mhm.
It was a weirdly semi-autobiographical story of the founding of Gainax, but then it goes into its own like little fan fiction. It is one of the most motivational animes I've ever seen. I constantly say that when I'm given the opportunity to rewatch it, like when I need, when I need motivation in life, I will watch Otaku no Video. It also comes with a set of mockumentaries that are like the B-side to the experience. That's a whole other thing there. I mainly focus on the anime. But Animego, which I believe recently got folded into a media distribution company that was run by the founder of Anime News Network, who I did work with briefly during my time with Anime News Network. They used their personal account for Animego's purposes to get the funding for the Blu-ray of Otaku no Video. So that is an example of things like that happening in the Kickstarter space that, you know, it's very risky, obviously, because when you have an unsuccessful campaign, it's not a great look. Case in point, look at what happened on round one. You know, people, when we were talking about the ambition from when we had to scale back, guess who all that fell on? Spoiler, it wasn't Digital Era Entertainment. So I was getting a lot, like people were personally directing this towards me, thinking it was like, oh, this guy is super ambitious. I mean, yes, this guy is super ambitious, but these were ambitions that we have as a team. I am just the face that runs the place, to use a wrestling catchphrase. So that's why it's on my personal Kickstarter. You know, it was a practical need because we couldn't do a Digital Era Entertainment one at this point in time because of how our operation works. Because again, we're volunteers doing this out of love and passion for the stories that we're telling. We've expanded into streaming and all that, so we don't have any of this infrastructure. So I had to just kind of take it on the chin to make sure we could hit the deadlines that we needed. So that's why it's, you know, kind of there. I realize I have totally gotten myself off track and I've lost like my original starting point, but I just wanted to single out why, you know, it's on the EMP Maniac Kickstarter as opposed to Digital Era. It's like nothing weird, nothing sketchy. It's just we literally have to, because we can't change the payment account in the future if we ever, you know, set up a proper business account for Digital Era. So it's like we have to do what we have to do. And that was the consequence of failure. Putting my face out there as like the face of the campaign. So it was not like a vanity thing, it was necessity. And you know, that was the risk reward, much like with doing an all-in for this. I believe the original question was about our approaches if the Kickstarter for some reason doesn't go through. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, so like we are going to examine other outlets, other avenues, because very clearly there is an interest in this project. There are people who want this project. We want to get it out there. You know, we'll do as much as we can. Even on the first campaign, like I called in family help at the 11th hour. It just got bungled because of the way that everything got set up. We were very public about this, and it was even one of the last things we posted about on the previous campaign's page. But even with that, like, there is still a threshold that we would have to meet in order for that to even be, you know, useful. You know, so, and I'm trying not to call that in this time, because I felt really bad having to ask that favor in the first place. And this time it's just kind of like, I really want to see how passionate people are about this project. I know that people are out there. Enough people almost got us to what would have been our current goal line last time. So we'd love to see where people can take it this time. And hopefully we won't have to, you know, claw and scrape for funds if this falls short again. But if we have to do what we have to do, we'll look into it, because there is a passion for it, not just from our end, but from players who have experienced it. So this is a very long-winded version of saying to be decided, but we're going to see what we can do. We just really hope it doesn't come to that for obvious reasons, because it's a pain.
That is good to know indeed. That is good to know indeed. And I think that I think we about cover we have just about covered every important aspect about KOKORO no Pro indeed. So we've come to the tail end of our interview, ladies and gentlemen. So hearing all that, first of all, thank you, Mario, for granting me this interview as someone who is both a pro wrestler and a VTuber who is immersed in the geek culture of both sides of this world, that is somehow able to be interweave with each other, just like how I weave pro wrestling into my VTubing, and to some extent VTubing into my pro wrestling as well. This game very much speaks to my own KOKORO, and I do indeed wish you guys all the best. So
Thank you.
So yes, folks, if you wish to support digital era entertainment and get KOKORO no Pro up and running, the Kickstarter link is in my pin page. I will also add the link in the descriptions after this stream is done indeed. So if you want to check out more about KOKORO no Pro, you can also follow them on Twitter on Digital Era Tweet. The description, the link is in the description down below. Mario, any parting words to our viewers?
I think the most appropriate send-off we could possibly do is the one that I have been ending all of our updates on Kickstarter with, and it is certainly one of the emotional high points of the section that you and the other members of VEP, as well as other streamers, have been experiencing. Let's go, Shinchoku Pro! But seriously, thank you so much for having me on. Thank you so much for showcasing the game. Big shout out to Project Orbit and Z-san for putting this all together. And thank you to all of you who have been supporting us with this project. We hope that you will continue to support us moving forward, and spread the word, because as you heard, we're really passionate about this. We feel your passion in return, and we genuinely want to reward that. That is our ultimate goal with this story.
Indeed, folks, indeed. So once again, thank you everyone for listening in. Cafe Cornelius is now closing shop, but may Cafe Cornelius never close in your heart. Or shall I say, KOKORO no Pro. A lovely night.
Hey!
Have a lovely night.